We are live. Hello, everybody in the chat. As you can see right now, we have Backwoods up here and Prepping Outside the Box. Thank you guys for coming on such short notice. I do totally appreciate that. And I have invites out to several other people. We'll see if they show up. Hopefully they will. But, you know, we'll shoot from the hip and see what happens. Let's see who all we got here in the chat. Oh, man, who we got? We got Bug Dude, what's going on, brother? Monique, Caribbean House, Monty, Tamara Reynolds, Dusty Data, Sherry Leach, Georgia Peach, Hoot, what's going on, Hoot? Uh-oh, Milkmaid's in the house.
I'm late, sorry.
How dare you?
We actually I just hit the live button. Not that big of a deal.
Show's ruined.
Yeah, show's ruined. It's done.
She's like
Angela B in North Carolina, firefighter. What's going on? What's going on? As you can see, the Milkmaid has joined us. I got a few other invites out there. We'll see if they show up or not. You know, Steve Harloha. What's going on, Steve? Yeah, so I mean, the meaning of this stream tonight, other than hey Tammy C, hey Penny D, Rhyme of the Ancients, what's going on, Susanna? The meaning of this stream tonight is we got all these volcanoes going off and you know, over the last few weeks, and there's all these live streams and all these awesome videos people are putting up about it. And I mean, they're all, you know, really, really good. I enjoy watching them. It's really good content. Uh-oh, surprise guest. What's going on off the wall?
Driving. Headed back home. But I thought I'd at least drop in and say hey to everybody.
Awesome.
I'm gonna be sharing my my dad's service was something when they did the 21 gun salute and taps and stuff today. It was something.
That's awesome.
So how's everybody doing?
Good. Native, I sent you the link. You coming or what? I know you got a show coming up, but I did send you the link. Yeah, I'm gonna call him out. Aloha, I'm gonna call him out for sure. Yeah, this is just like you know. Last Monday I did a show, or excuse me, 2 days ago I did a show, you know, and it went over really, really good. So I figured I'd just kind of do it again. And I'm looking at whatever the current events that are going on, and people, you know, at least in my perspective, it's really easy for people to get tunnel vision and focus on one thing, the likely avenue of approach, and that ain't me. I mean, the likely avenues of approach, that's where you make mistakes. That's where you get messed up, you know. So I try to look at a situation from left field, like hardcore from left field. That's usually what's going to happen, you know. And over the last couple of weeks now, with the volcano that's going nuts over in the Canary Islands, but also, you know, for the past several months, with all the volcano eruptions all over the globe, you know, setting records, you know, and it just occurred to me that, you know, with this volcano in the Canary Islands, a lot of people are focusing on all the side of the mountain's going to fall off and hit the water, and they've got these really cool tsunami, you know, computer graphics going on about how it's going to travel across the ocean and crash into the East Coast and this and that and the other. Don't get me wrong. That's a very legit concern. That is a legitimate concern. It has happened before. There's proof in the historical records to show that kind of thing has happened, and it's happened in several places, you know, all over the globe. And but Roots, what's going on?
Hey everybody.
Hey.
But my perspective on it is a little bit different. You know, yes, the mountain collapsing and causing a tsunami is crazy, but what I wanted to do with you guys up here on the panel is I want to just spit out some stuff that came into my head and some facts that I have researched and found, and get your opinion on it. And tell me if you think it is a legitimate concern, if it should be a legitimate concern, and if people should start paying attention to this. Because I know this is the one thing that bothers me over. This is actually one of the reasons I really started hardcore prepping, to be honest with you. So it kind of makes sense to me, at least. But just for a quick little,
can I ask
unless
about something
anybody's got any help to do. Yeah, man.
Just real quick, like seriously, if something you bring up if it's something, let's say Milkmaid is really paying a lot of attention to, and I mean, not just kind of a, hey, backwoods, what do you think about this? And I'm like, I mean, like if Milkmaid's got something on it, or, prepping outside the box or something, you know what I'm saying? Kind of a, because there's certain things that I focus on, certain thing Milkmaid, prepping outside the box focuses on, and certain things that we find that other people hadn't found, so I was just
Right.
kind of saying, just if you've got something, hold your hand up and, hey, I know a
Yeah,
lot
yeah, yeah.
about this.
If I'm on a roll and you want to jump in, raise your hand up, and I'll pause the little information blast, and I'll save my spot and go from there. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to invite a multitude of people from all over the country, with different views. Because when you get a whole lot of people working on one problem, not only do you get more than one answer, you usually get the right answer. And 9 times out of 10, it's an answer that you wouldn't think of on your own. So the brainstorming really works for me. So it is what it is. That's just how I try to do things, because I might, feel 100% correct in everything I'm talking about, but I could be 99% wrong on all of it. That don't mean I need to be punished for being wrong. I want to hear the right answer so I can do it right the next time, But here's the thing that was bothering me. All right. And this is, 2021. We're in the information computer age. People are spoiled. They don't know how to change the oil in their car, change tires, nothing else. I mean, it's all computerized. Half our population is used to everybody doing everything else for them. The only thing they pretty much do on their own nowadays is chew their food. That's the only interaction they have with their food, is chewing it. The only interaction they have with their food is the end that it goes in and the end that it comes out. And pretty soon that's probably kind of going to become inconvenient or gross, and they're going to come up with a pill to where you don't have to do that anymore. It's ridiculous. But just for a short, quick little history thing here, and I'm big on history, and I know you are too, Box. I'm big on history and things like that. Everybody's heard of the Tambor eruption, and most people have heard of the year without a summer in 1816. And that legitimately happened. There was a year without summer in a lot of the northern hemisphere, mostly North America and Europe. It had a huge effect. But what a lot of people don't realize is that 1816 in the summertime, June, July, and August, it was snowing, freezing, all the crops failed. There was mass famine. A lot of people died. Now we're talking about June, July, and August of 1816. Here's the problem. The volcano that erupted and caused all that erupted in April the year before. Tambora erupted in 1815 in April. Okay, so it was more than a year before the effects, or the secondhand effects, were really hit. Now there were tsunamis and it killed a lot of people, and on the initial eruption and things like that. But it was a year later where the effects kicked in. People had went through the winter, the fall, the winter, the summer, the fall, the winter, and we had a great spring. And then all of a sudden in June, July, and August, somebody flipped the switch and just turned the lights off, and a lot of people died. Up in parts of New England, they call it 18 and freezing to death. That's what they call that year. But the thing about it, people don't realize, is that the average temperature dropped almost 10 degrees. That is a huge drop across North America and Europe. That's massive. It doesn't sound like much, but it's huge. I mean, 1 degree is the difference between drinkable water and ice. All right, so to say 10 degrees isn't that big of a deal. It only takes 1 degree to change water into ice and back and forth. It only takes 1 degree to go from ice to steam. So a lot of things can happen in 1 degree in temperature. But here's some of the crazy effects that had on us today that people don't even realize. All right, the crop yield that year in 1816 was only 10% of the normal output. 10%. That is insane. That's like a collapse of epic proportions. It literally caused people to flee. People actually, there was mass migrations. This eruption in 1816, actually, it fueled westward expansion in the United States of America. This eruption and this westward expansion is directly responsible for the formation of Indiana and Illinois. I mean, after this People literally left the north and came south and started moving west because of this. Another really cool thing, and that's why I wanted Roots up here, and I did not know this until I was doing research on it. Joseph Smith, I know Roots knows who he is. He's the founder of the Mormon Church. He lived in England with his parents when this came down, and they fled because of this. They did a mass migration and went west, and he later formed the Mormon Church. And here's the crazy part. If you go back to Monday's stream, and the Mormon thing came into play, the religious doctrine and the way they prepping is part of their religion. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to put 2 and 2 together and figure out he was influenced by the things he went through as a child by going into a summer without any food. I mean, you went from a winter, and back in the 1800s, winter was the hard time of the year. Spring and summer was good. The food was great. You put up food to just barely make it through the winter until you can get to the next summer's crops. Well, the next summer didn't happen. So you multiplied it times 3 because you had to go through that summer with no food, then an entire other winter before you could start planting any crops. And the recovery time on the global temperatures and the sunlight, it was affected for years afterwards. It was a drastic change, but it takes years to come back to normal. So this thing literally influenced the Mormon Church, this volcanic eruption. Wow. And you've got, all right, everybody's heard, this is the crazy part. When people say, oh, it was a bad time, a year without a summer, but it literally influenced our culture. Not only did it give birth to a religion, a massive religion, and it gave birth to a religion that's surrounded by prepping, but here's something else it also did. Mary Shelley, has anybody ever heard of her?
Yep.
Her and her husband were on summer vacation in the Swiss Alps. And on summer vacation in the Swiss Alps, and this is the year without a summer, when they were forced literally to stay inside the entire time. They were basically snowbound in the summer. While this is taking place, she's so depressed, locked into the house in the summertime. This is when she wrote Frankenstein. The book Frankenstein. Not only Frankenstein was born from this, also Dracula was penned during this summer. Is that crazy? It literally changes your psyche to where you go to dark and depressive. I mean, that is some crazy stuff. Not only that, I mean, to fuel the westward expansion and the making of 2 U.S. states, that's powerful. But oats, the things that you fed your horses back then, and everybody knows horses back then, that was the go-to. That was your number 1 mode of transportation. Oats were so expensive and so hard to find for the horses because there weren't any grown, that people couldn't afford to keep the horses for the prices they would have to pay to get what little bit of oats they could. So obviously the horse became dinner, but so they couldn't keep their horses. So something else that this volcanic thing actually done is it led a German dude to invent the bicycle. The bicycle was invented during this dark time as a means to get around because there weren't any horses. He literally invented a bicycle because of this. And then there's an estimation that upwards of over 100,000 people died during and after this eruption. But here's the problem. Record keeping back then was shoddy. There was no census. I mean, especially, in Indonesia. So technically, you really can't put a number on how many people died. They're saying upwards of 100,000. Now, if you translate that into today's time, the world population back then was barely 1 billion people, 1 billion people. Today, we're at almost 8 billion, right? And now you've got 100,000. Now, if you do the math, if you adjust that for time, now you're talking a death toll in excess of probably 1 million, maybe 2 million people. And if you put into the mix the simple fact that back then everybody prepped because that's the only way you survived, and you take into account this computer generation, this give it to me now, don't hurt my feelings generation, and if this happened now with a 7 billion world population, I'm looking at hundreds of millions of people, and we're not even talking about the tsunamis and the direct effect. I'm talking about the after effects. And here's the thing, I'm not saying there's going to be a massive volcanic, I'm not saying Yellowstone's going to blow. What I'm saying is we've had multiple volcanoes that have been spewing ash and stuff into the atmosphere for several months, if not years. So you don't, in my mind, the way the math works is I don't need one big massive volcanic explosion when you've got 37 or 50 of them going off right now, nonstop, constantly spewing stuff into the atmosphere. That's going to add up. I mean, that's just, it's, what do y'all think? I mean, I think that's going to be yeah, a tsunami's bad, but going without a summer, and then you get people, they go, or well, I've got solar, so I can run my grow lights. Well, here's the thing, rocket scientists, when they say without a summer, the reason for that is all the ash and the stuff that's in the atmosphere, it legitimately blocks out the sun. So that drops your temperature. So I don't care if you have a greenhouse, if you don't have any sun, or if you don't have a way to power the light. So unless you're running on nuclear power, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I wanted to back that up, Ghost. When I worked for the natural gas company, everything, all of our locations, everything was done off of solar and batteries. And we had this one time where we had 30 days without sun. Them guys were keeping up with it because, we was having to change so many freaking batteries and stuff. But we had 30 days without sun here. And every single battery, I mean, we had some big solar panels out there. Every battery we had went dead. We literally, they'll charge a little bit, but you're talking a difference of, something that can, a normal day of sunlight and even overnight, and then having another normal day of sunlight, you can, your batteries will stay well charged enough to do what you need. But you get, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks where you don't have any real sunlight, like an ash, for instance. Yeah, your solar stuff is done, man. I mean, it's useless. It will not charge them batteries.
Yeah.
And there's always other means, but in the closest city next to me, there's almost 170,000 people. There's not even 20,000 of them that prep, I assume. I'm guessing, because it's just not in the nature of a lot of people around here. Now, I do live in an area where there's a lot of hunting and a lot of stuff. So there's still a lot of people that do keep a decent amount, but not 3 months worth. And actually longer than that. Not just 3 months worth. Getting ready for that following winter, which would be even worse, because nothing really happened during the summer. But yeah, you lose control of the masses. We already have a complacent society anyway, so it wouldn't even everything that you've done right now. If all you've done is got food, then you're not ready for anything. You're basically just a stopping point holding for somebody else, in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think, Milkmaid? Roots, we're going to save you for last because
sorry. Sorry.
That Joseph Smith thing was awesome. North Shore.
I mean, honestly, when I think about that, because I've considered it, people talk about Yellowstone, that kind of thing. I mean, Yellowstone goes off, we're all toast. But with that kind of stuff, number one, I mean, having a food source stored, there's a reason that people stored food over a long period of time. But when it comes to growing, I mean, you're looking at, your vegetables won't do well, your grains won't do well, your cattle won't do well. Any animal that survives, you're going to have massive die-offs of livestock. You're going to have massive die-offs of wildlife. You're not going to hunt your way through this. Like that's kind of the way my mind thinks is generally surrounding food, because I like food. But like when I think about that, that's mostly what I consider. It's not power or anything else like that. Like my goal is to be able to live a life without power. I love power because it's helpful. But I know that's actually our weakest point. So with solar energy and stuff like that, like that's great, but and maybe essential to some people. Like that could be life or death. But food is life or death for everybody. So that's kind of where brain goes with that.
Yeah,
Makes
and
sense.
that goes into play. I mean, you're talking about in the 1800s when, power and lights and all these luxuries that we have didn't exist, and they still slugged through it and came out, in my opinion, like champs on the other end. We are screwed. It's, all right, Roots. What you got, Roots?
Well, my thoughts are complex on this. Regardless of my ideas of the dogmatic approach of the LDS, you can see how necessity created revolution in groups such as those. If you look at the historical context, in the early 1800s, people were searching for religious freedom. They were searching for all the same things we're looking for. In fact, a lot of people don't realize Joseph Smith ran for president of the United States, and he had some support in that. In fact, their first their chosen site of Zion was actually in Missouri. That ended up not working out. They ended up in Utah, and the rest is history. But my point is that there will be things in society that people are going to conglomerate together. It's like, that's one of the organizations that was the first MAG group, if you will. They got together in order to share food and resources, in order to share skills, in order to collectively find somewhere better to go. And in my opinion, for example, most people know the Mormon Church abolishes the use of tobacco, coffee, things like that. Well, in my opinion, it was just too expensive when they wrote that rule 200 years ago, and they're all trying to head from more or less the East Coast, Illinois-ish, across the West over the mountains. All of these things that are forbidden in their grouping, I think was more of a dogmatic approach to what they could handle and carry and pay for, not so much anointment from God telling them to do that. But that, I digress. But yeah, these things have that long ripple effect that can completely change our society and culture. Again, regardless of what I think about the dogma of that organization, they certainly have changed the culture. As I said the other day, we were raised, you have a year minimum. You were told and taught at the pulpit to have a specific room that is food storage only, a year minimum. But these organizations also did things like the long-term storage, which goes about 20 years and what have you. You're encouraged to have all that to do that stuff that some of you watch us do every week, and it's like, where do you even get that push? Or, hey, my grandma used to do that. And regardless of, I think anyone who went through the tough times, and 100 years later, from Joseph Smith that we're talking about, we were going through another cootie. We were going through, not only was there that cootie, there was a huge political shift going on and a transfer of power in the Fed. So this cycle is about every 100 years. And quickly, regarding volcanoes, I live in an area that if certain things go off, I'm screwed. I agree with Milkmaid, Yellowstone, we're all bent over. But I'm on the West Coast. So there's a few things that could go that would ruin lives. I think it depends on where you live. A lot of people don't realize that Kent and Seattle and all of those areas right under Rainier were formed by the lahars sent off by Rainier. The danger from a volcano is partially in the ash and the cover in the sky, blocking out the sun, etc. The real damage, it's called a lahar, Lahar. That's the debris, the trees, the houses, the people, the bullshit going down, all down the valleys. That's what actually has made a lot of our valley cities that we know of now is that lahar action. So I think it depends on where you are as far as how much to be concerned. I started prepping because I am in an area that if certain volcanoes went off or earthquakes, I'm swimming. So I started with a couple of things that have to do with, is my car going to be underwater? I got a seatbelt cutter and a windshield breaker. I picked up a whole bunch of life preservers for my nieces and nephews and my kid just to have them in the closet. I got them at the thrift store for like $5. They're perfectly fine. You know, if I really needed it, there they are. So it depends on where you are. And religion or groups, those type of mag groups can absolutely affect society and culture for 200 years to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up, Native?
What's going on, everybody? This is a surprise. I've been enjoying listening to you guys. Hey, Milkmaid, Roots, Pop B, Mr. Backwoods.
What's up?
It's a weird situation because a lot of people focus on the initial blast. Well, if I just don't live that close to the volcano, I'm going to be okay. Wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I had to choose a way to go out, which is really, really quick with superheated gases versus, you know, 13, 14, 15, 16 months of watching my kids starve, I'll take the superheated gases. You know what I mean? If I know it's going down, this quick and easy works for me. But it's the aftermath. That's what happens later and the lessons that we've learned. And here's the thing, the lessons that we've learned are from our ancestors. They didn't have power. They didn't have Tesla cars. They didn't have all this stuff. And they muscled through it. I mean, they cowboyed up big time. They rocked it. And us now compared to them, it's embarrassing. I mean, if we go 2 hours without the internet or you can't get on Facebook, the world's coming to an end. I mean, people are freaking out. You know, I mean, imagine what happens, you know, and I mean, we've already had early snows in Alaska. We've already had early snows in several places across the continent. And you're talking, I could easily read into this and, you know, and the one angel on my shoulder that always is, he lives in a rabbit hole. I can easily go, man, now, is all this ash and debris that's being, and this gas that's being pumped up into the atmosphere, is that already taking effect? I mean, it's slowly building up over time? I mean, dude, I mean, this eruption in Tambora, it inspired artwork that's worth millions right now. These brilliant red sunsets and orange sunsets. I mean, there was like the St. Elmo's fire. That phenomenon was witnessed after this, with all the stuff in the atmosphere, with the red tinge to everybody's hair and things, and this, and that, and the other. I mean, it literally changed the culture of us as a people. You know, this volcanic cloud that surrounded the globe, and just, it freaked people out. And they're just like, yeah, I mean, Frankenstein, Dracula. I did research today and on this, and I'm freaking out. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. The bicycle was made because we had to eat our horses? For real? Dude, that was an OG prepper right there, buddy. That was an OG prepper. He's like, what, we can't feed them? All right, let's eat the horses. I'll figure something out. And he went into his basement, come out with a bicycle.
What that saying goes? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yeah.
You know, I was listening to y'all. Y'all were talking about the ash in the atmosphere, and I was thinking about in 1990 when Mount Pinatubo erupted, it put so much ash in the atmosphere that the global temperature was reduced for 2 years. And I've been thinking about, I don't know who said this the other night. It might have been on one of your lives, but someone said that more volcanoes have erupted in the past year than all 10 years combined. Did someone say that? Yeah. Did I hear that right? If that's so, there's a lot of ash going in the atmosphere with all these volcanic eruptions, and I think y'all are right, man. It's going to affect it. We're already seeing it.
Yeah, look how Ghost, even you and I talked about, you know, how we had certain stuff that grew just fine and certain stuff that we normally can grow, it wouldn't grow worth a crap. Just, we already seen an effect, I think, this year with some of that stuff with our, you know, growing our outside, you know.
Don't you blame that stuff, Backwoods.
It's not just the temperature drop, which, like, it changes your growing season, basically. Like how many growing days you have. Like certain places have certain number of days and then it lessens it. But then you look at it and your plants don't grow as well during that growing season because the sunlight's reduced. It's like putting shade cloth over them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know?
I mean, look, this thing's responsible for the
time. Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say your production time, if you're thinking like a farmer, your production time is lessened, and then your production mass is lessened as well, and that counts for grass too. Like that counts for your meat, because I'm always I see a yard and I think like
I mean, look at
that
crops
matters
like,
too, you know.
yeah, and crops like potatoes. I mean, remember the great potato famine in Ireland that almost wiped out the entire population? I mean, potatoes take a minimum of 4 months to produce, and that's if you do everything right. Look at my potato harvest this year. I got like popcorn sized potatoes, okay? And that was
Gourmet.
with awesome growing. That was with awesome, beautiful sunlight, the whole 9 yards. Imagine trying to grow a crop that takes 4 months to mature, and it needs the sun big time, and it needs the right amount of water, and it takes 4 entire months, and you don't know if it's working or not until you dig them up. It's not like 30 days in, oh, this is going to be a crap crop. You don't know until for 4 months. So I mean, if potatoes is your like legit harvest, I mean that's a crapshoot. You just rolled the dice, and 120 days later, let's see what happens. With no sun.
That was a political statement.
Do what?
With the Irish, they did that because they didn't want to pay the wheat taxes from the English. Was it wheat? I can't remember. So they said, nope, screw you.
I haven't researched it too much. Okay. Yeah, but I just know like with something like tomatoes or beans or any kind of crop that grows above ground that you can see the production growing versus something like potatoes, onions, carrots, root crops that are underground that you don't know what they're growing until you dig them up. Now imagine how devastating that would be.
Yeah.
You get your fingers crossed the entire time, and then you go out there and you start flipping buckets and you ain't getting nothing but dirt. Right. That's bad.
When you rely on crops,
Do what? What'd she say? We lost her.
Yeah, we lost her.
Yeah.
My potatoes. I got a bunch of them, but my potatoes were all small too, man. I did something completely different because I had that same problem last year, and I did something totally different this year, and still just small potatoes, man. I don't know. I've been reading stuff, and I did everything that this guy was showing his great big giant taters, he was growing, and I did it the way he did, and still I got small potatoes. I don't know.
I know it just kind of seems to me because, and I know it sounds weird to throw it out here like this, but with all the I guess you could call it dis or misinformation or all the distractions that are going on in the world right now, some people would say that, oh, that's ridiculous. Nobody would do that and just distract you from the simple fact that millions and millions of cubic tons of ash and chemicals are being put into the atmosphere, and it's what's going to cause this cold, dark winter. I mean, it's not like you're going to be able to research it and get any accurate facts on what's going on right now. It's just going to happen. It's going to catch everybody by storm if that correct amount is up there. Plus, you got to look at the gases that are being ejected. I mean, the last time, back, I think early in the 1800s when that volcano in Iceland erupted, it literally poisoned Europe, like all of Europe, all the way down through Mesopotamia. I can't remember the actual name of the gases that came, but it legitimately poisoned and killed people, the gases that were ejected. So it's like, we've got multiple volcanoes every single day blowing up. And that stuff, like when it goes up in the atmosphere, 10, 15, 20 miles up there, it stays for a while. It takes it a long time to come back down to the earth. Now, if it's just one volcano, big deal, not that bad. Everybody remember when the one erupted in Iceland a couple years back and it shut down air travel back and forth and this and that and the other with the dust cloud, and it affected the temperatures there. That was just one volcano. We've got like multiple volcanoes that have been going on for months. And then we've already seen there was a year lag from Tambora, from when it went nuts to when that gas, that cloud of debris actually encircled the northern hemisphere. The northern hemisphere got hammered. The southern hemisphere wasn't that bad. It just depends on the wind currents and the time of year, I guess. But it took over a year for those effects to hit the crops.
Well, it really.
We're going into
Go ahead.
We're going.
Go ahead.
Right now. What happens if next spring and next summer it happens again the exact same way? The time is almost identical.
So what are you saying? Are you saying that something's causing it to be like this, to produce all these effects that we're talking about?
I don't know if something's causing it. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Earth just does this and is cyclic. I mean, I think volcanic activity is cyclic. You know, just it's just like the climate change. I mean, it happens. If anybody denies that the climate's changing, I mean, you really don't make any sense to yourself. Of course, the climate changes. That's why the weather changes. You know, climate has been changing. It's been getting hot and cold for millions of years. You know, it happens. It does.
Yeah.
You know, so
there's been so many like ice ages. It has to do that, right?
I think the volcanic activity is cyclic. I mean, if you look back through history, if you look back through the ice cores, volcanic eruptions, whether they were one big one or a whole bunch of little ones, changed the face of the globe. And it's not, I'm not making this shit up. It's literally in the history. It's in the ice cores. It's proven fact. Volcanic eruptions can literally bring on many ice ages. They can change climates. They can rob you of an entire growing season. They can make it a year summer.
Vegetative extinction. I agree with you. I think this is a great prepping topic, especially with everything that's going on. Like you've touched on stuff that I hadn't heard about.
There's a town in New England, somewhere up in the Northeast, during the summer or the year without a summer. There's a plaque. There's a monument to this one farmer. Has a monument set to him because he is credited with saving the lives of his entire town, because the land that he owned was on a mountain and his garden was at a high enough elevation that it got just enough sunlight to produce. And he is credited with saving the lives of the entire town. There's a monument. There's a huge plaque there in dedication to this. It's up in somewhere up in the, it's up in the Northeast. I don't think it's like a massive mountain, but he had just elevation that he was getting clearer air than everybody else. And he was actually legitimately able to produce a crop. And the funny thing was that his garden was always considered shit up until then because it was at an elevation. That's the reason that it worked. Yeah. Wow. He legit saved lives.
So basically, you know what I'm getting from this, guys, is like we're all waiting on you to teach us how to do hydroponics. So when this happens, we're all growing food in our house.
and there's the crazy part. You know, I do the hydro, I do the aquaponics, but without sunlight, you can't power it.
Yep.
You know, if we lose the sun, it's freaking game over. If we lose the sun from
wind.
You know,
what about wind and water turbines?
Yeah.
What about
that?
What
could possibly. I mean,
what about fuel? What if we make wood gasifiers to make a turbine turn with the fuel from burning wood?
Well, I was thinking about pedal power, leg power. You know, those generators. You can take an alternator. You can take a washing machine and reverse the current and sit there, and you can just. And if you got 4 or 5 kids, they each get an hour. They're sitting on the bike and they're cranking away. We're charging batteries and we're running them. You know, we're doing the grow lights. You know, I mean, there's a way to get through it. The only positive note, I know it's so messed up to say it this way, but this is how my brain works. If something like this does happen now with our society the way it is, the only positive note is that probably 60% of the jackasses are going to die off quick.
Right.
You know, because they don't know how to fight. They don't know how to survive like the people back in the 1800s. I mean, if you took an exact amount of the population, a cross section of our population now, and brought them back to 1816 and had them have to deal with this, it wouldn't have been 100,000 people dead. They'd all be dead, like legit, in the first 30 days.
Right.
We would have no record of this because humanity would have ended. We would be friggin' dead.
Yeah, a lot of the people nowadays, they can't even start their lawnmower. Ain't that right, Native?
Yeah.
That's right, bro.
I showed that to my old lady, man. She laughed.
G2, that is so awesome of you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that so much. And while we're on the topic of G2 being such an awesome person, I was going to do a special video for this, but I'll just go ahead and do it on this live stream. G2 sent me a package in the mail, so I'm going to share with you guys all the goodies that G2 sent me. I happen to have it sitting right here beside me.
Awesome.
So we'll
good packages.
I'm going to show you guys the goodies.
How to hook and prep her up.
Okay, she sent. I haven't opened any of these, and each one has a little note. It says ghosts, those germs and viruses. This is so cool. It's wicked apple hand sanitizer with a ghost on it.
All right.
That's funny.
That's cool.
Let's see what else is in here. We got, and your packing skills are through the roof, G2, by the way. Had your name on it. Saw this at the butcher's.
Oh.
It is roasted ghost sauce.
Oh man.
Oh man,
It's getting hot in here.
perfect
That's
G2. That was awesome.
And let's see what else we got. Like, she legit packed it. Thankful for your impacts on the community. Sweater weather hand soap.
Oh,
It
nice.
is White Barn. Oh, it's got essential oils in it too. Cool.
That smells good.
Man, those gonna be smelling right.
Dude, she got more bubble wrap in this itty bitty box. There's enough bubble wrap in this box. They could have dropped this thing from the airplane flying over and it would have been fine. Check this out. It says rabbit, and there's a rabbit on the label.
Cute.
Winter citrus wreath. Oh, this has got the essential oils in it too. And then
Milkmaid.
oh wow, this says warning label. Oh my goodness. Ghost chilies, ghost peppers.
Nice.
Oh,
Oh,
cool.
nice. Man,
Nice.
yeah. You should like handle those and then like touch your eyes and stuff.
Leave that all of it.
Yeah. And go to the bathroom.
And I have a little card here.
Wow, you went there, Ruth.
I did.
I had a buddy did that. He regretted it for 24 hours.
I have a card here with obviously a canning jar on the front. It says surprise care package. Thanks for sharing your talents, perspective, and common sense with the community. Hugs. GG. P.S. Handmade card making isn't a prep, but a fun way to bless others. Oh, you made this card by hand. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's neat. I wonder where you would get a card that says friend and has a mason jar on the front.
That's
So
amazing.
much too. That was awesome. Awesome. I'm going to put all to good use. Definitely.
I'm gonna have to grow a beard so I get gifts.
Do what? What'd you say?
I gotta stop shaving my beard. That way I'll get gifts.
Stop shaving.
It's coming back pretty quick, though.
Oh.
It don't take it long.
Golly.
I mean, that massive growth that I had was only a year old. So, okay, yeah, back to the good stuff. Thank you so much, G2. I really appreciate that. That was awesome. Awesome.
That was awesome.
And my other present that I got from Za, that handmade Viking knife that she sent me, I used it during the canning stream. I used it to chop up all that pulled pork I had. I had like 20 pounds of pulled pork that I canned. Bro, let me tell you something. That is legitimately the best knife I have ever had in my hand. It is nuts. I mean, that's
a nice knife. Man.
You got one?
Yeah, she sent me one for my birthday, man.
Uh-oh.
I ain't even opened it. Look at that.
No,
I ain't even opened it.
I'm saving it for deer camp, man. I'm
Oh,
leaving
you got
for
the
deer
other one.
camp Friday.
That's what
You
I
got
was
the other
saying. It looked like a great deer knife.
Yeah, you got the other one. You got the one. Yeah, you got I got the cleaver knife version, the combination.
Yeah.
Zonde, I would have opened mine already. I'm just saying.
I have opened it. See, it ain't got the plastic on it anymore.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm legitimately, I'm gonna take this to deer camp. That's what I'm
I
gonna
don't
wear.
know. What y'all think? Y'all think he really opened it?
Lies.
Look at here. Have y'all read the book Cold Times? It talks about a lot of the. No, I have not. I will look it up. Cold Time. I'm gonna write that down right now. Cold Times. Do you know the author's names?
Yep. I have no.
Thank you, Tiger. I'm definitely going to look that up for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's like simple things like that. Everybody worries about the big guy, you know, in the pool hall, the big muscled up dude, you know, that walks in with an attitude. I am not worried about that chump. I'm worried about that little quiet cat over in the corner that weighs like $110, that's minding his own business. And that's the dude that's going to tear shit up. You know what I mean? So worrying about this big tsunami and the top blowing off the mountain. Look, if that happens and you're in the path, good for you. You're not going to have to worry about the drama afterwards. And that's where I would probably want to be. But you know, it's the aftermath that's going to cause the volcano blowing up didn't bring on Frankenstein. It didn't bring on Dracula. It didn't invent the bicycle. It didn't fuel westward expansion and start new states. It didn't come up with the Mormon religion. It was the stuff that happened a year later. You know, that's some serious.
If you're in the path, you got to get out of the path so you can create things like that. Because if you dead, you ain't creating nothing.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine what a dark place you got to go to write Frankenstein when you're on vacation with your husband?
Yeah.
All right, we're not talking about somebody that was like already depressed in life, you know, and was lived in the ghetto. She had money. She was in the Swiss Alps on vacation in the summertime, and she went from summer vacation, happy time. She went from freaking spring break to writing Frankenstein. That is a transition beyond belief. That is like, what?
19 years old. 19 years old, was she?
That's like a severe, I mean, that's what blows my mind when I was doing the research on this thing. It changed religion, it changed culture, it fueled the growth of this country. I mean, it literally invented things. It changed art and literature. You know, it's like, what? That's crazy. How something and it was a year afterwards.
Yep.
And when Krakatoa blew, it took 7 years for the globe's average temperature to return to normal. 7 years.
Exactly. See, man, that's what gets me about climate change. We all admit, yes, the climate changes. The argument is who causes it, because they're trying to get us to believe that we caused it, and that's why they just want to regulate us. But there's no way we can affect global temperature the way that the Earth itself does with volcanoes and stuff like that.
Here's my perfect argument for that, and I've made people laugh with this statement so many times. But if you think about it, you're going to go, okay. You know, the number one, we've already agreed that climate change does exist. It's existed since the beginning of time. Okay, we know that it's a fact. All right, but to do the whole where people argue against it and for it, climate change, that makes no sense to me. Don't blame it on cow farts. They legitimately blamed it on cow farts, methane from cow farts. The reason the globe is getting warm is because we raise too many cows in America. Okay, now for perspective, I'm assuming that way back in history, dinosaurs just didn't fart.
That's a good point. Not even that far back. There's not as many ungulates on the earth now that there were a couple of hundred years ago. There were herds of buffalo in the United States of America, 60 million strong. That was a normal herd. You know, the amount of cows we produce is nowhere near the herds of ungulates that used to.
Not even close.
No.
Not even close. And you're going to tell me that a cow fart is bigger than a dinosaur fart? I'm pretty sure a dinosaur fart's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, and it smells like 90 weight. Smells like 90 weight.
Buffaloes are pretty good sized things too. You know, chokers are huge. I can guarantee you they let out some gas.
Yeah, beach harmon, woolly mammoths, exactly.
I love how this went from the summer that never was to cow farts and.
Right.
I mean, it's like I just get frustrated with all the distractions that are being thrown at us right now. What you got, Box?
I was going to say earlier you guys talk about like how many would die off. You know, the stupid people would die off. Stupid people are going to take a lot of smart people with them.
Yeah.
I'm just
take a lot
just
of
saying
yeah.
Well, I mean, you have enough people out there that are not going to just willfully starve to death. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That would be my main not concern, but
Y'all-
Exactly. That's why they're trying to make our society where you can't argue with them.
mm-hmm.
You know, because once you really start asking them questions, their whole belief system, everything they believe, climate change, everything falls apart because it's not reality and it's not practical. And when you really you don't have to be a freaking PhD to understand this stuff. You know, we're sitting here and having just a normal conversation, just as a human being who lives here, and obviously, like you guys are all making all like just great common sense, practical, pragmatic points that any person, if they just think about it, should come to.
Yeah.
Well, you can tell when you can really tell when you know that they don't that you make more sense than they do. You can tell that they know you make more sense than what their belief is whenever you start making that sense, and the first thing they do is start calling you names.
Oh yeah.
You know, that's a childish tactic to try to throw you off, you know. Well, you're just a racist, you're just a bigot, you're just this, you're just that.
You're literally a Nazi.
Yes.
You've got all these signs.
Yeah.
Because I disagree, I gotta be a literal Nazi.
Oh,
Do you
yeah.
know what a literal Nazi is?
Yep.
You've got to think about it. You know, you have all these scientists and whatever you want to call them that literally did all this research and started protests about cow farts in the atmosphere and how that's polluting the atmosphere and causing the planet to warm. Where are all these PhD scientists and astrophysicists or whatever it is they do? Why have we not seen a news report on mainstream media that has taken into account all these multiple volcano eruptions over the last year and that has not taken somewhat accurate measurements of the amount of ash and debris that's been thrown into the atmosphere? Why is there not any cubic tonnage information being put out here of how much has been put in the atmosphere? Because I guarantee you it is through the roof. It's got to be. I mean, they're going nonstop. They don't want us to know.
Well,
That's a
probably
good point. Man, that's a good point. I mean, where are the geologists and volcanologists? Geologists have always been the redheaded stepchildren of the science community. Oh, you study rocks. And now there's more volcanoes erupting in such a short time than ever in history. Where are you guys? Now's your time to shine.
Doesn't fit the narrative.
Yeah, the trust of science doesn't fit the narrative at that point.
Well, it does fit the narrative. Them not showing up or not giving the warning, because that's page 3 on the dark winter. You know what I mean? Everybody's worried about the dark winter. I'm not worried about the dark winter. I'm worried about the cold, dark summer that comes afterwards. You know what I mean?
Think about the fear factor that goes along with it. So you use something like a disease, you can control it with your medicine, right? You can control the narrative and you can do whatever. So you can take that and you can create fear and you can fix it and be the savior. What are you going to do if you sit there and scare a whole bunch of people with what's being thrown in the air and you can't do anything about it? So maybe they're picking and choosing, and they're like, well, we can take this, whether, whatever. We can take this and make our, savior stuff, but we can't do anything about that. So why scare everybody into a panic and make them do stupid stuff,
Or smart stuff like store food,
It just turns them into blows me away. It blows me away. All this
Turn them into preppers.
Hey, I want to know how many companies out there are fine with their supplies and they're creating a panic for their own benefit right now. You're that company that's perfectly fine producing all your stuff, and you're like, hey, we got a shortage. Right. We better buy now. It'll be gone so soon.
Man, what a good point. What a good point. I have a question for you guys. Do you guys think there's any reason, and right now in our world political climate and our economic climate, for Walmart to have shortages on their shelves? That don't make sense to me.
Yeah. I don't want to necessarily call that the shortage. I'm thinking that That's more of the visuals. You know,
No, I know
it's
that's
less.
not the shortage. I'm saying that's what I mean. That's my point. I was in Walmart right before I was on here. That's you know, we just got back from one of our monthly buys, and I was noticing all the cheapest products were gone. I mean, gone, and there were whole shelves and stuff gone. I'm like, this is Walmart, though. This is a huge global corporation. They're in China. I was like, this don't make sense to me. They're part of the establishment. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what do y'all think?
It's so
Yeah.
it's got to be multifaceted. Have people like short? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just
Tiger.
going to read this. Maybe that's why they're destroying the world now, because they know we can't support everyone in the future. Devil's advocate. No, you're right, Tiger. I mean, I agree with that. I think that it's politics has a lot to do with it, and politicians love fear when they can control the narrative. If they can control the narrative, which means controlling the people, which makes them money, fear is a good thing. Fear of the world coming to an end, or there being some massive die-off of the population. They really can't control that happening, but they can maneuver themselves into positions to where they can be in charge during the fall and during, you know, what comes afterwards. You know what I mean? It's like, if you can set yourself up, if you can go to one of the nation's best and oldest freeze-dried food companies and have a contract with them and do business with them on a regular, to where you have a special relationship with the Department of Homeland Security, and then all of a sudden they just decide to shut her down for 90 days in the middle of the winter. Yeah, that 1 and 1 does not make 2 there, buddy. Now, I mean, now look at that hypothetically. What if they know this cold, dark winter is going to carry on through the spring and the summer next year? What's the best kind of food to have put away? Freeze-dried.
What's the best solution? Facilitate a massive die-off by other means. Well, make a bunch of money.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Can I throw a rabbit hole thing out here?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Mr. Show, I just want to say one thing. This just came to mind, and I have to go. I have a membership live at 9:00, but this just came to my mind because we're talking about volcanoes, we're talking about weather and stuff, and how we can't control that stuff. Okay. And I just want to put this out there. Jesus called the devil the prince of the power of the air. All right. So
you're breaking up.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, you're clear now.
Okay. So anyway, my point is that I was always taught in the church I grew up in that you know, when Adam sinned, he gave control of the earth over to Satan, and Satan can control the weather if he wants to. So if the establishment, whether knowingly or unknowingly, are doing his will to fulfill scriptures, wouldn't he like, and Jesus actually talks about this, we wouldn't know the seasons from the seasons. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't he be doing this? Wouldn't he be making more volcanoes erupt? Wouldn't he be making the weather do crazy stuff? Wouldn't he be sending hurricanes so big that we measure them and stuff? You know, so I just want to throw that out there for all the, I know everyone on the panel not people of faith. That's cool. Some people out there. I am. Just something that came in my head.
Yeah, I could for real get behind that. I could see that happening. I can see that. I mean, I can see that. I got no problem with different points of views, and you know, when I do the canning party and I do the no religion, no politics, that's not because I'm not religious, and it's not because I don't have a political view. It's just because I don't want to alienate anybody that wants to learn how to put
on there. Yeah, I don't want to alienate anyone either. I just want us all to be free to believe whatever we want and to share our opinions. You know,
yeah, but on this stream, you know, anything other than the canning
on your channel, I've always felt that on your channel. 100%.
Yeah. On this stream, you know, I mean, come on, rabbit holes, dude. I got a backyard full of rabbits. You know, I mean, come on.
Hey, man, I appreciate you letting me come on. And this is fascinating discussion. I wish I could stay with y'all and get deeper into this stuff, but I gotta go. I hope y'all have a good night. I'm gonna catch the rest on the replay. Everybody in the chat, I love y'all. Brave Nation, I guess I'll see y'all in 30 minutes if you want to, or you can catch the replay. I wouldn't blame you if you stayed here and listened to this stream because this is awesome. Milkmaid,
members, y'all go pay homage to the man.
See you.
Have a good one, brother.
I'll talk to you, man. I'm gonna be coming to see you this week.
All right.
All right, man.
Native, I'd love to go down that hole deeper sometime. I think you posed a really interesting question. So one of these days we'll go deeper.
No doubt. Maybe on a canon stream. No religion. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. I'll see y'all. Y'all have a good night.
See you, bud.
Be good, brother.
I think a lot of us, regardless of religious persuasion, a lot of us can agree that there feels to be a war between good and evil going on. And that good and evil can be in our leaders, in our technocracies, in the oligarchies, and in our churches, and whatever, you know. So I think Native brings up a really good point. And whether you assign the value as God versus Satan, or good versus evil, or positive versus negative, or feminine versus masculine, there's a dichotomy to everything. And regarding what we've been talking about, I think our own fears are what are going to kick our ass. As far as a natural disaster ruining your life, well, I lived on Guam for almost 4 years. We had typhoons multiple times a year, which cause a tremendous amount of damage. You lose power for a long time, and you better have food and a way to make it, or eat crackers. So, excuse me. So those folks and people in similar environments that have these things happen, they're not scared. They're prepared. They're fully aware of what it might look like, and it's what you're afraid of that you're not preparing for. That's what's going to kick your ass, whether it's the government, society, God versus Satan, or natural events, or any of it. If you're the most afraid of it, that means that you're not ready for it, and that's kind of a mental.
That's a good way of putting it. Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the one big takeaway from like this entire thing tonight is that bomb about Joseph Smith. You know, if you really analyze that, you know, the things that he went through as a child, starving in the Northeast, and then having to migrate west through the Great Expansion, and then forming a religion, a massively powerful religion, and it's surrounded by it. It was the fire that the spark that started that fire was prepping, and he got into prepping because of this volcano and the stuff that he went through in the year without a summer. That is insane. I mean, that is nuts.
Yep, I agree. And you can see how much it morphed over the years, you know.
It's like legit the OG prepper.
Good. Yeah.
That's worth noting for future issues. Like if you see society collapse, oftentimes you'll see cults arise. Like crazy cults. And if you were to have a worldwide societal collapse.
What's up, guys?
Hi, Dusty.
What's up, Dusty? What's going on, brother?
Oh, he's
out in the yard. Got the fire going.
I thought I was going to have to get him to contact Dangerous to show him how to start a fire.
Heck yeah.
Hey, Dusty.
Yeah, man.
Nice, Dusty.
I want to do a fire here soon.
Me too.
Milkmaid, I think you bring up a really good point, because you could consider a mag cultish in a way. It's people with the same ideals. If you're going to build a mag, they're going to have. Am I breaking up?
Just for a moment, but it might be.
Sorry, you guys broke up on my end. Okay. But if you put a mag together, it's people that think the way that you do, that have the same goals, that have the same struggles. And that is very cultish by nature, by definition, you know.
Yeah.
Leaders emerge naturally. So I think you bring up a good point about, you did see certain organizations and groups arise. Seventh-day Adventists arise about the same time. So did Jehovah's Witnesses. All of that in that couple of probably 20, 30 years all came out of need of people wanting to find like minds. So it's a fine line, in my opinion, between a useful assistance group versus a zealot assistance group, you know.
And at the societal climate right now, the cultishness of it is really mind blowing. Like to the point where nobody can think logically anymore. Like I'm religious. I have faith. I'm a Christian. Not a perfect one by any means, but like, if you look at the way that people will blindly put faith in, say, certain doctors that begin with F, or political figures, or even like this doctrine that's pushed, I mean, it helps you understand a little bit more why people can't see. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, then again, they probably say the same thing about us, so, you know.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, everybody needs to understand the thing when you start talking about religion or Christianity or whatever your choice is that, you know, the main thing is dealing with Christianity is that when I always hear, just like Milkmaid did, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I always hear people say, well, you know, I'm not a perfect Christian, you know, and everything. Well, none of us are. That's the whole point. See, those Christians that make themselves look better than you, they're the ones that know the least about their own religion that they claim to know.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that out, that it's
I've
Jesus
noticed.
he didn't come here to heal the healthy. He come here to heal the sick, you know, the sinners, you know. So anyway.
I kind of look at religion like a family recipe, you know, a recipe that you only share, you know, with people that you know are not going to murder that recipe and completely destroy it. And that's the kind of the way I kind of look at religion. And I don't even want to call it religion. Let's call it having faith or what you believe in. I don't care what you believe in. That's your choice. That's part of being a sentient being with your own brain, making your own decisions. Do you have faith or not? Yes or no? That's all that matters. What you believe in is totally up to you. You know what I mean? There's so many different gods. There's so many different religions. And it just goes to show the power that people crave faith. They crave a reason to be. You know what I mean? They want to know why. You know, why is the big question. If you have faith, rock and roll. You do you. Don't judge me. You do you, because I'm not going to judge you. You know what I mean? And people cry, I'm offended. I mean, my answer to somebody looking at me and saying, oh my God, I'm so offended. Okay. You're welcome. I mean, what? I'm going to offend you. If you know that being offended is something that's going to break your heart, don't speak to me. Don't come around me. You know,
opportunity offender.
You know, it's just.
So you guys think that they knew these volcanoes were going to erupt ahead of time, like 2 years ahead of time? Like, this is the year to know it, and then 2 years from now we're going to suffer for it.
There's assumptions all the time.
Yeah, there's assumptions, but I don't think. Look,
they're not as I think they are.
Volcanic eruptions are like there are too many variables that have to happen at the same time or in a correct order to make one go off. I mean, like, you could legit probably spend 10 years with scientists and a couple of nuclear weapons. I can show you a dormant volcano or a volcano that's not dormant and say make it blow up, and it won't happen. You know what I mean? There's too many variables. You know, the pressure, the steam vent, the lava underneath, what kind of lava it is. I mean, if it's high in silica or is it going to run and flow? You know, it just depends on what type of volcano and what type of magma. You know, is it explosive, or does the cork pop out and it fizzes over? I mean, I don't think that you can predict the volcanoes. I mean, you can guess, but to light the entire thing on, yeah.
I think the best they can do is a hypothesis, which is an educated guess.
Yeah.
They can see, you know, what's going on. You know, they study these things all the time, but they still cannot, you know, determine that yes, this is going to happen. I mean, they've gotten pretty dadgum good with predicting the weather a couple of days ahead of time. They're pretty good at it. I mean, but I remember just not too long ago, they was telling us, you know, man, there's going to be tornadoes and it's going to be bad. You know, you're going to get 70, 80 mile an hour winds and freaking golf ball size hail. It was sunshiny the whole time. Something happened and that they didn't foresee, and it never even rained, you know. So I mean, they can't predict. I don't, my opinion, like volcanoes erupting,
Well, here's my
I mean,
thing, right? We've advanced so much in science, right? You have people who are, like the human body, we've discovered so much about it, but yet, if you dig deep, there's a lot undiscovered. Like I remember a couple of years ago, UVA discovered that we have a lymph system in our brain. Not before we hadn't. How many decades have we been dissecting people at all kind of radiology, and they just figured that out? I mean, we really aren't as advanced as we'd love to believe. We are really kind of stupid. I mean,
Yeah, I agree.
get down
Right.
to the nitty-gritty. I mean, especially when you have people thinking you don't have natural immunity when, yeah.
Everybody but Pot B. Now he's a pretty smart fella.
Oh yeah, he's smart.
yeah. I mean, it would be a massive leap in technology to be able to control a volcano, simply because a volcano by definition is uncontrollable. I mean, you would have the mathematic equations that would come into play to predict not only the amount of magma, but the amount of gases that are necessary to make it explode. And then when one goes off, the rest that are connected to it, like say the Cascadia stream or anywhere along the Ring of Fire, those are all connected. So if one goes, physics dictates that it's probably going to relieve the pressure on the ones that are closest to it if they're all connected. Yeah, I mean, if you drill holes in a pot and they're all connected, I mean, they're in the same pot, and you pull the cork out of one of the holes, it's going to relieve the pressure on the rest of those holes. I mean, that's just physics. It is what it is if they're connected. If it's a hot spot like Hawaii or Yellowstone, then that's a different story because it's just that spot. But in the Ring of Fire where they're like supposedly all connected, that would be kind of different. A hot spot volcano is completely different animal than everything else. But I don't know.
I got something to address or ask or mention, and I've seen this in multiple chats that there's a lot of people that think someone dropped a nuclear weapon into the volcano over there in the Canary Islands to make it do what it's doing. I've seen that multiple times, and I'm thinking to myself, has anyone ever watched a nuclear explosion?
I have.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it on TV. I mean, I've never seen it up close, obviously, but I'm saying I'm just sorry, but there's no way that I can believe that. I mean, come on, man. Drop a nuclear weapon into a volcano, and I'm gonna say there would be no Canary Islands.
I mean, if you pick a volcano that's under an extreme amount of pressure that is just ready to go, and you hit it with, say, I don't know, one of the smallest nukes we've ever made, and you basically pop the cork, I could legit see that like happening. But the timing necessary to do that, and I mean, if that technology existed, I would think that it would have already been employed to predict Yellowstone, or and make some predictions on these super volcanoes, when, where, if they are, and you would see property values like change quickly. But I just don't think that technology's out there. I mean, maybe it is. I could be completely wrong. But if it was, then I would like, if I was the man in charge and I had the button to make volcanoes, make real estate, I would have Hawaii going wide open 24/7 nonstop, making some more, land mass that we can charge taxes on. You know what I mean? I would increase the size of my state or my country and charge more taxes.
Hey, Hawaii's still growing right now. It's still growing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I would have done it a long time ago, and it would be going at a faster rate. You know what I mean? But you know, and if we had that technology, why would we not, or why would the military not have go ahead and pick the volcanoes, say somewhere in Russia or somewhere in North Korea? You know, one that's close enough to somewhere to like wreak havoc. You know?
Yeah, I don't think we're that technologically advanced.
Not yet.
Well,
I don't. It's unpredictable.
yeah, I don't think there's no benefit. I think everything goes in a cycle like we talked about. And my best analogy is like when a woman is giving birth. So I'm going to go esoteric and say Mother Earth, right? And it's not the same 9 months. It's not a perfect example, but you can tell by contractions. You can tell by when things tighten up and loosen up. You can tell by when some of the juices in the body start going a different way. So by that same rationale, there are things we can watch, such as the Schumann resonance, SCHUMANN. The Schumann resonance is basically like watching the contractions on a woman. It'll tell you how much activity up and down is going on in various places. I believe we can predict these things in a cascading effect, so to speak, like a cause and effect sort of thing, because it is all connected. If you see a rumbling on one spot, you can more or less predict the reverberation of that within a certain place and time. So I think that there would be warning and notice. I don't think anyone would be told if something, because they're not going to want to create panic. But I do think that we could probably see something major coming in a week or less, just by looking at some cause and effect.
What we need is a whole bunch of real big jigglers. We put like a jiggler on each one of these volcanoes. All right. Think about it. We could release the pressure at a constant rate. You know.
Yeah.
Jigglers, you know, jigglers could save the world.
But how?
Man, I thought you were talking about putting people like Dangerous up there on, and you know, or Dusty, you know, up there jiggling around. That's what I thought. I was wondering how you were gonna, yeah. Anyway.
Jigglers to save the world. I like it.
The jiggler could fix it all. That'd good. That'd look good on a T-shirt. A volcano with a big jiggler sitting on the top, just rocking and rolling.
Oh, that's what all the guys say.
We could do a cartoon about it. We could have Susanna narrate it. That would be awesome.
Yeah, I like that.
Good Lord.
It's just, you know, and I know this is kind of like philosophical, or maybe that's the word. I'm not really sure, but like to me, I think it's just ridiculous that humans are so fucking arrogant that every time we see something that we don't understand or something that's new, the first thing that pops into our mind is how do we control that? Mm-hmm. How do we make that do what we want it to do when we want it to do it? You know,
Yep.
It's like
or touch it.
When we went to the West, what was the first thing we decided to do? Well, let's put up fences and make sure these furry little animals that taste good can't get away. You know, why are we so arrogant that we think, oh, volcanoes are blowing up? Oh man, that's an awesome destructive force. What if we could control that? Why the fuck would you want to do that?
Well, you just said you were going to make real estate.
Right.
I know, right? I mean, it's just. It blows my mind, the arrogance, you know, it's
contradicting.
I just don't understand it. It blows my mind. I mean, that's nature. You can't forget about it. You know, that's ridiculous.
Guys, we're more like a bunch of 3-year-olds that want to touch everything.
Right.
Like no impulse control whatsoever. It's like, oh, can I do this? Let me see.
What does this button do? And we're going to push the one that's red that says do not push. That's the first one we're going to push. Oh, Rip Curl.
It's a sign of genius.
It's I don't know, man. It's like,
well, it just seems that, you know, I mean, they've talked about earthquakes as well as, you know, obviously, which it plays in with the volcanoes and everything. But yeah, they had said that the earthquakes over the last few years have increased over 200%.
Yeah, well, the thing is, volcanoes are, there's only a couple ways volcanoes are formed. Volcanoes are formed at fault lines, or they're formed in hot spots. So, and the only type of earthquake, the only type of fault line that does not form volcanoes is a strike slip, which is the San Andreas. when the plates slide along each other. When they go together, they build mountains and stuff. When one subducts under the other, that's where they build their volcanoes. Except for places like Hawaii and Yellowstone.
I'm not gonna lie.
It's called rifting or subduction. Rifting is when they come together, go up and make mountains. Subduction is when one goes under the other. But Hawaii, the Ring of Fire, is the top. All of those islands are the top of active volcanoes.
Yeah.
That's why it's called the Ring of Fire.
That's moving. I mean,
they're
the hot
underwater
spot
mountains.
Hawaii was originally over near Russia. It's moved all the way over. You know, Yellowstone has moved all over the place.
What?
Yellowstone. It's not in the same place it used to be.
I need to do more studying. Too busy.
The North American continent. The North American continent is moving, and it's moving across the hot spot. So the caldera moves with it every time it erupts.
I think it was about 5 years ago that Australia moved, and they gauged it for like about a couple inches or maybe a foot, but Australia literally moved the whole continent.
Yeah,
I remember that.
What's that one? Oh shoot! It starts with a P. Basically, all the continents were kind of put together. Like if you shift the Americas over to what?
Pangea.
Yes.
Yeah, like Dusty said. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The continents have moved and crashed into each other multiple times. It's like the Himalayas are being formed right now because of the Indian continent crashing into the Asian continent. That's two continents crashing together. It's like the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains are older than the Rockies.
Yep.
That's why they're smaller. Facts. They've weathered down. They're older than the Rockies. There was a time in history when the Appalachian Mountains were the top of the world.
Yep.
They've weathered down.
That's a fact. Yep.
That's a fact. The Rockies are young. The Appalachian Mountains are way older than the Rocky Mountains.
Yep.
I feel like the biggest listener on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader right now. No, hey, I don't mean to. Oh, that's nice. I don't mean to bounce off like this, but I gotta go take care of some stuff with the family and everything. So I'm gonna have to leave everybody. Say everything. All right, later, chat.
Thanks,
and thanks for letting me come up here.
I appreciate it. Anytime, brother. Anytime. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Love that family, brother. I know you do.
Good night.
I don't have no silver things, man. Everything I own is black.
Nice. Yeah, this is a gift I got from Za. She gifted one to me and Backwoods, and he's got the knife version. I have the knife / cleaver version.
That'll come in handy on them rabbits.
These are handmade Viking knives.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Everything on it's handmade, full tang. The thing's like 1/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah.
Both of those are gorgeous.
Comfortable, and I mean legit. This thing is. This is something else.
I love the detailing on the blade. I really do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's all handmade.
Yeah,
they call that a hammered blade.
Yeah.
And even the sheath is leather, handmade. It's all hand stitched. It's all done by hand.
Mm-hmm. Did you get a deer the other day, Backwoods?
I hadn't been yet. I'm going this Friday.
Black powder?
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Yes, I love muzzleload hunting. That is my absolute most favorite hunting.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the deer are about to get scarce here. They've been all over the freaking place. I'm hoping that we get a few.
Backwoods, do you know the name of the knife company?
It's however you hell, I don't know how to say this. I'll put it up there.
I can't see. It's so tiny.
HAOYE home.
Hey, home.
And they sell them on Amazon. They sell them on Amazon.
Yeah, they're running a sale on them right now. Like these things are like regular $40-$50, and they're selling them for like $20 right now. 18.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's very, very affordable and very, very hardcore and good.
That's amazing. I love a good knife.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, those things. It's awesome. And I don't even got to get you with the point. I mean, I can flip it over backwards. I mean, this thing, it's like carrying around about a 12-ounce hammer. I mean, it's got some weight to it, but it's really well balanced.
You think it'll have the finesse that you need for? See, I have my doubts, Ghost. You love those bunnies, man.
Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do the rabbits. I'm not going to be able to process the rabbits with this one. It's just too big. I'm going to need something, a lot smaller, and very, very fine edged. But this thing here, as far as getting through the bone, I mean, because it's got the weight. I mean, it's probably, I can do a deer with it. But as far as the rabbit with those fine cuts you got to do, I mean, I could probably do it. I'd have to go really slow and really careful. But I think I'm just gonna just get a really small butcher knife, really sharp, and just go with that to process them. And yes, I'm gonna be eating rabbits. I know it's gonna happen.
I'm feeling what the milkmaid's saying though. You're falling in love with every litter, and you're like, look at him go. I'm gonna breed this one, and it's like, okay.
No, it's just the first litter of Zaz, just because it was my first litter. Those bad boys, natives coming to get some this week, and then the rest are either going to be sold, given away, or they're going to be put into the breeding program. Right. Now, all the ones that come after that are rabbit McNuggets. They're getting eat up.
So are Milkmaid Junior bunnies going to be processed?
Yes.
Okay, so when that time comes, let me know a little bit ahead of time. And maybe I might possibly be able to travel down there and...
Okay.
Daughter is. I might... I've been tempted to have you done that? Have you processed them?
No, I've never processed a rabbit before. Not a one that I've grown. I've processed a wild rabbit. I've skinned wild rabbit more than once. It's been a few years. Been a few years, but yeah.
Like riding a bike.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
man,
like a really hard process.
If came and did it with you, that'd be the best video ever.
That would, wouldn't it? That'd be cool.
Yes.
Matter of fact, we can make a big party of it because natives, like right down the road, you could. Let's see.
I love it.
I've honestly considered butchering videos, but like all I've butchered recently is chickens, the egg eaters, little butts.
Man, I hate them. Whoa.
We're gonna see Ghost with a nice fur coat next winter.
Dude, I got some good fur. I ain't gonna lie. Now, juniors kits are changing color. They're getting, they're almost a week old now, so they're starting to get their little fuzzies. They're fixing to get their eyes open, so their colors are a little bit different, at least as far as I can remember from Zaz. We'll see.
Ghost.
They might like.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Milk.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think there's a lag. I was going to say they might lighten up.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I was hoping because, Milkmaid's solid white. I mean, she's the third generation solid white pink eyes, man. But Tribe, man, he throws some color. He don't mess around. That rabbit, he hardly eats anything. He just lays there like, this is my shit. He's just like, whatever. The only time he even remotely gets agitated or excited is when I put a female in the cage with him, and he goes straight to business. It legit, the whole process takes about 4 minutes. Done and over, back in the cage, whatever.
Yeah,
he's like, boom, I got this. So it's weird.
Yeah, Long Pig, he should put it on Preparedness. Dusty, did you do Preparedness or did I miss it? I was looking for it and I was like, oh man, where is it?
No, I didn't do it. I was out here in the yard camping.
All right.
Well, that's an excuse.
It's really nice weather right now. I could not pass it up. Right now, it's probably about 70, maybe about 70. So it's really nice right now. And in the morning, it's been about 69.
Yeah, you got on long pants and a coat down there in Florida. That's winter.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Got a nice cool breeze coming in right now.
I'm gonna tell you right now. You take that. You take you some of that rabbit and fry it up with some flour on it and some seasoning. and then make you some old pepper grease gravy, and you put that rabbit, lay it right on a piece of white bread, and you pour that grease gravy over the top of it.
SOS.
Man,
Yeah.
SOS.
The windows in my house have been up for 3 weeks straight. No AC, no nothing. They're just up.
Mm.
It's just been beautiful around here.
Just the calm before the storm.
I know, right? It's been nice.
Well, the increase
Well, I'm
in the
acclimating.
earthquakes,
The room I'm in is 50 degrees.
the increase in the earthquakes and the volcanoes are definitely something to be watching out for. Because Ghost, like you was talking about, I mean, and I'm like you. And when you said that a minute ago, I was like, yeah, I'm in agreement. They talk about the long dark winter, and people are like, oh, oh my God, we have winter every year. It's just like the pipeline shut down. You're supposed to be preppers. So what? Let the pipeline shut down.
Yeah, a long dark winter.
Yeah. All this stuff that happens, you're supposed to be preppers. This is what we're supposed to be prepping for. But I will agree with Ghost. It's that year without a summer is what worries me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
straight Game of Thrones shit, man. Yeah. Winter's coming. Yeah. How many years is it going to last this season?
Right.
Yeah, I know there's a meteor shower coming, right? Supposed to last like a week or two.
Yeah.
Fucking the aliens are going to be next. We're going to get aliens next.
Wait. One of the movie stars now said that we got to stop calling them aliens because that does offend them. We're supposed to call them extraterrestrials.
Extraterrestrials. Okay.
I'm being serious. I seen that shit the other day.
I believe
like, I can't remember her name, but she literally said we must stop calling them aliens because it offends them. Because
what the hell else are you gonna call them?
I don't know, man, but I was like, fuck the aliens and fuck you too, because you're an alien too. How about that?
Don't forget, they get to choose their gender and which box they mark on all applications.
True.
Mark bottoms. I have 2 trees left with some fruit that I haven't picked yet because it's still really small, but it's getting to the point I'm just gonna have to do it and let them ripen on the counter.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had. Well, I have some fruit trees, but they're spring fruit trees. Mulberry and cherry.
Yeah. I got to get ready to overwinter my peppers.
Ooh, I will say the persimmons are heavy up where I'm at.
I don't have a single persimmon tree on my property. I've looked and looked.
I got a bunch of them. I got persimmon trees like here, and where I deer hunt at is like right here, and the deer have to come this away right past where I'm at to go to the persimmon trees.
Ah.
It's getting close to Halloween, so I'm pretty sure Backwoods is going to come up with a zombie deer video soon.
Ooh.
Yeah, I already got my Halloween costume picked out for this year.
Oh yeah, what you going as?
Yeah, I'm probably going to end up going to Hutch's party, and I'm gonna come dressed up in my military gear, and I'm gonna come as Major Peters.
Is he actually doing that?
I thought for sure he was going to say Caitlyn Jenner.
No, I'm coming as Major Peters.
Come on, you're wearing that pink tutu.
Oh, hey, Dusty, I got one for you. I may be having to travel back to Florida for a few days. I've got a court case coming up. So I might be riding right by your house. So we might get to meet up and make a video.
Yeah, man, let me know.
I will. I should hear something back in the next 2 weeks if I actually have to go to court or if there's going to be a settlement, but we'll see.
I just pictured that movie, Me, Myself, and Irene, where he said I could control my anger. and he went outside and the Pepsi machine was all tore up. Did you stick somebody in the deep freezer?
No, what it was, actually, what it was I was denied entry and denied service because of my service dog at a business and establishment, and then the police got involved and they did the same thing. So I got an attorney and you know, riding it out, see what happens.
I was noticing the other day how everybody was kind of on board with that. Sir, you can reject people's service, and now it's turned around to where it's like biting us in the butt.
Where you can reject what?
Deny service to somebody.
Oh,
Where they hold the right to reserve whether or not they want to serve you or not.
You can reserve that right, but as a business, and you're open to the public, you're restricted on how you have to have a reason.
Yeah.
You know.
yeah.
And no public anywhere that's open to the public cannot refuse service to me based on the fact that I have a service dog. It's illegal. It's a federal crime.
Yeah, it is. That's Buddy, man. Come on. He's cool and chill.
Hell, he's better behaved than I am.
Buddy in my house way before I'd like ghost in my house. Just saying.
For real. I would too.
Just
I
joking.
know it's like, hey, the dog can come in to stay the night, but you got to sleep out there in the hay barn.
Yeah, he's got way better manners than I do.
Oh,
way-
Buddy's sleeping with a cuddle.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. So I may be down there in the next month or so. We'll see.
Yeah, cool.
But if I do, I'm driving right by your place. I figured, what the hey, we'll hang out, make a video.
Definitely. I need to get out more.
No, you don't. It's painful out there.
Stuart, that might work depending on where you're at, but you better have a good reason, and it better have nothing to do with a service animal. It's like the place I went, it was like the owner has a no pets policy. I'm like, good for him. Does not apply to Buddy because he's not a pet. He's a service dog. He's a prosthetic. He's just like a fake leg or a fake arm. So what you're saying, if you're not letting me in because I have a service dog, is like you're saying that I have to take off my prosthetic leg and hop my fat ass up to the bar. Ain't gonna happen.
Right. I mean, that's funny, but it's not. But yeah, it's
true though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah.
Problem, yeah.
It's, and it's the thing too, and it sucks for some business owners, and I can understand it and feel it completely. I mean, I used to own my own business. For somebody to just go on Amazon and order a vest that says service dog and it's an untrained animal, that's not a service dog. And here's the great part about the law. They're breaking the law too. They have the same fine. They have the same jail time. They have the same community service for faking a service dog. The problem is there is no national registry, because people always ask, well, do you have papers for the service dog? There's no such thing. There's an idiot that made a website, a national service dog registry, and he's getting paid because people are giving him money to say that their dog is certified. It's a made up scam. It's not a government. There is no service dog registry. I wish there was, but there isn't.
Yeah.
So if somebody claims that their animal's a service dog, you have to say, okay, and accept the fact that it is a service dog, unless the person's carrying it or it's in a vehicle and they're pushing it like a doggy cart. Because one of the requirements of service dogs is they have to be in optimal health. They have to be mobile, because moving around on their own constitutes them doing their job. You'll never see somebody carrying a service dog or pushing a service dog in a grocery cart. If you see somebody with a little shit chihuahua with a service dog vest and he's in the cart at Walmart, it's not a service dog, period. Service dogs don't bark at other people. They don't act like normal dogs do. They literally ignore you. You know what I mean? So what you have to do as a business owner, if you let somebody in with a service dog and they start barking or they're getting outside the lines, then you can walk up and say, sir, you and your animal need to leave. And they have to leave because, they didn't uphold their end of the bargain.
That's a trip.
I've never met a little dog that doesn't bark.
Right.
I mean, there's a difference, there's a difference in a service dog and an emotional support animal. Emotional support animals don't have any rights at all. The only rights they actually do have is in some states, if you have a documented, a need for it from a doctor to have an emotional support animal, then they are allowed to waive the pet fees at houses, and people that say no pets have to let you in. But in that case, you have to show proof that you have some kind of a mental issue that requires an emotional support animal, but they're not service dogs.
Well, I'm kind of upset about this because I have a teddy bear and he has rights and he identifies as a real support animal and he identifies as a real animal. And I don't like that you would say that. He is a good teddy bear and he has rights.
I was going to say my livestock that I eat, they're my emotional support animals. Definitely support me emotionally.
Yeah. Food insurance.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing with a legit service dog. And I've had conversations with people in public that have made dumbass comments like, I'm going to get a vest for my dog so I can take him everywhere. I'm like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
I want to punch you in the mouth right now, because every single person that does that, they make it harder for Buddy to do his job. His job is to keep me from losing my shit. So when you bring your little yap animal into Walmart and he starts going nuts on Buddy and Buddy loses his shit, that means he can't do his job. You know what I mean?
I agree.
Because he doesn't know that he's a dog. So when he sees another dog going nuts, barking, running around crazy, he's like, what the hell's going on? What's wrong with this thing? When he has his vest on, he's a completely different animal. Now, if I take his vest off and let him go off leash, he's a dog. He's off work. He's like a human being. When his vest is on, he's a completely different animal. When I take it off, he goes nuts. So when other people bring their fake service dogs, in public places and restaurants and stuff like that, it makes it so hard for him to do his job. And does it piss me off.
Lynn, what's happening? Homestead Oz. What's going on?
Hi, Stephanie.
Homestead Oz? What?
Yeah. Oz.
Ghost, is it illegal not to let a service animal anywhere, and a service animal is different than an emotional animal? You can get a piece of paper online for a fee, right? So to the best of my knowledge from my schooling, and I actually had to go to school for 3 weeks and train to get him, and I had to pass 3 exams to get him. There were 13 people in my class, and only 7 of us actually left with dogs, because if you fail the test, they don't give you the dog. His training constitutes over $70,000. He was 2.5 years old when I got him. He was bred and raised at the school. It's the number 1 or 2 ranked school in the world for training seeing eye dogs and service animals. The only places that I know for a fact that Buddy cannot go with me are in church, if the pastor says no. Cannot go in a church if the preacher says no. He cannot go in a courtroom if the judge says no. But if I have a court date and I'm required to have Buddy by my side at all times, and the judge will not allow him in the court date, guess what? I get a new judge and a new court date. He cannot go into a procedure room, a clean, sterile room in a hospital. Like the procedure rooms, emergency rooms, patient rooms, anything like that, he can go into. He cannot go into the kitchen area of a restaurant. And he cannot go onto private property, i.e. someone's land, home, or anything like that, that isn't a business. Now, your business can be private property, but because it's a business open to the public, he supersedes that. The dog can go. And to the best of my knowledge, those are the 5 places that he is not allowed. Sherry Lee, what you got, Dustin?
I'm gonna jump out of here, man. My phone's the battery's about to go.
All right, brother. Thank you for hanging out, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I would have been in here earlier, man, but I was just listening.
No problem. No problem.
Dusty.
I'm around.
Appreciate it, Dusty.
This post is a seeing eye dog different than a service dog? Yes and no. They're very, very closely related. All of the same laws apply to an actual seeing eye dog. But yeah. Yeah, honestly, I'm going to say yeah. There aren't many differences between a seeing eye dog and a legitimately trained service dog, because the company that I got him from, their main it's Southeastern Guide Dogs in Palmetto, Florida. They got their start doing seeing eye dogs. That's their main thing, is guide dogs. Then they got involved in the service dog market for the veterans. And what they do is they breed all their dogs. They have a genetics lab and 2 vets on staff 24/7 at this place. It's an awesome school. They genetically test and breed all their dogs, and they're all put through the seeing eye dog test. The ones that pass go to be guide dogs or seeing eye dogs. The ones that aren't that good at being seeing eye dogs are the ones like Buddy that are really big, because Buddy's very large and he has a really strong pull. And for those of you that don't know it, the seeing eye dog does the walking for the person. The person that has seeing problems, they just hang on to the handle. They tell the dog where to go and the dog pulls them. But Buddy's so big, his pull is really, really strong. So it limited the people that he could be a guide dog to. They actually did put him out as a seeing eye dog, but he was so big, the woman that he was paired with, his pull was too strong for her grip. So they brought him back into the school and retasked him and retrained him as a service dog for veterans. And then if they don't make it through the service dog part for vets, then they go to either Gold Star families, for families, military families that have lost a service member, for their kids or their wife, or they go on to bomb sniffing and drug sniffing acts for the police. And then people can actually just buy, one of their puppies. They're expensive, but you can pay $5,000 and get a pedigree dog from there. But the training and the laws, the training is different, but the laws as far as being a service animal are pretty much the same.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick out of here too, brother. I need to spend some time with the wife. She's gonna be working off at her business the next couple of days, and I got to leave midday Friday, so I really need to go spend a little time with her. I'm gonna be gone for.
Well, that's cool. Thanks for popping in with us, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this, and thanks for inviting, man. It's I mean, how can a better night happen than be on panel with 2 beautiful women?
I know, right?
Aw.
So.
See you later, brother.
Love you guys, man. Y'all peace out, man. Keep your head on a swivel.
And for anybody that wants, what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't worry, you're preppers.
All right.
See y'all.
And for anybody that wants to learn more about service dogs and legit service dogs and a legitimate service dog company, Southeastern Guide Dogs has a massive YouTube library of videos. They're on YouTube. You can just type in Southeastern Guide Dogs and you can get guides through the school. They'll teach you how to apply for a service dog. They go over the laws and regulations. It's a very legitimate. They have like a $9 million operating budget annually, and it's all on donations.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Y'all been breaking up like whoa on my end.
Yeah, there's a difference, Rip, between an emotional support dog and anxiety service dog. The term service dog is a dog that's trained to perform a specific task for the handler, which is me. Emotional support dogs are completely different. They're there to. They're not covered under the ADA as service dogs or service animals at all. They legit have no rights. That's why most of the planes are kicking them off their flights and stuff, because they have not. Basically, the only requirements to be an emotional support animal is you just say that it is an emotional support animal. It just makes you feel good. It's not trained to do a specific task that helps you function. And I know a lot of people say, well, anxiety, emotional, this and that. If you are diagnosed with anxiety, if you have legit anxiety issues or you have legit issues functioning in society, I'll tell you and anybody else listening, then go get a service dog. Have your doctor. All they got to do is write a letter or a note, and you submit an application to these multiple service dogs community or companies out there, and lots of them are covered by insurance. All you got to do is ask and do the paperwork. Don't just go to the pound and get a mutt and put a vest on it. That is so wrong. Or don't just buy your pet that you've had for 15 years and put a vest on it. Buddy gets retired in another 3, maybe 4 years when he's 8, maybe 9 years old, because you should never see a service dog with gray hair. I mean, they specifically, the way they do them, they're working for the first 2/3 of their life. He'll be retired before he's 10, and then it's Buddy be a dog time. Then he's retired and they bring me a new dog. So there are some differences, and there's a lot of confusion on how it works. And trust me, it stresses me out sometimes too. But the great part about having a legitimate service dog, he also provides emotional support. He deals with the anxiety, because most anxiety comes from a PTSD experience. And just go to your doctor and do it the right way. The emotional support, I understand that. I think it's really, really cool. I love animals, but unfortunately they are not covered under the ADA because there is no special training required, to designate your peacock, turtle, alligator, or whatever an emotional support animal. So that's the dilemma that society's in right now.
Hold the phone. You can get a emotional support peacock.
Yeah, I've never removed a comment yet. Well, no, I have removed one, but I've never removed a comment other than that one, and that was several weeks ago. No, I'm not removing any comments at all.
Oh, I've seen that's been happening in some things where it's not even showing up in somebody's stream. Like they'll say, "Have you seen my comment?" And none of the moderators and even the creator can't see it.
Now, I will say that I do have special keywords logged in, certain cuss words, certain politically sensitive things that if you type it in, it will automatically not show it. Yeah.
Yeah, but Hoot is pretty discreet.
Can someone get help with a puppy they got themselves? Yeah, Lala, there are companies out there that will actually train your dog to legit be a service animal, like legitimately train it. It's kind of expensive. It's not super cheap, but like I said before, if there's a need for an actual service animal, there are companies out there that do it for free. Buddy's worth over $70,000. It didn't cost me 1 cent to get him. And my room and board was paid for when I was there for 3 weeks training to get him. I mean, so there are companies out there that will foot the bill. But no, I hadn't removed anything. Yeah, Sherry Leach. I am cresting the hill of being a school teacher. And, Buddy goes with me to school every day. He's specifically task trained to interact with children. When they retire Buddy, or when I retire Buddy, they'll bring me a new dog, and I can do one of two things. They can take him back and they will find him a home, or he's my dog forever, and he's going to be my dog forever. Once they retire him, he'll just be, he's on vacation permanent. But what I plan on doing, because every time I leave the house without him, he goes absolutely nuts. So what I'll probably do is just retask him as an emotional support animal, and I'll take him to school with me and my new dog, and I'll pass him off to the guidance counselor and let him do, because there's a real issue with test anxiety with kids in school on exam days and test days. So I figured I would just bring him to school with me every day, because they go nuts if I don't. And then he can just lay around and play with the kids all day. So that's what that's my plans on doing with him anyway. Which I thought was kind of cool, because it'll break his heart if I don't take him with me. He goes absolutely nuts.
Yeah, you can't not take him.
Yeah, so he's just gonna be he's just gonna get to play with the kids, all day.
Okay, so I have a serious question. Which age group do you love to teach? Because certain ages would maybe cause a lot of anxiety. Or
it's middle school. I'm not touching high school. It's middle school.
Yeah.
I'm going to do 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Oh no.
So 11, 12, 13-year-olds.
Yeah. I tried the high school route, and I'm like, nope, I'm going to catch a charge in here, because one of them's going to test me and it's going to get ugly. I'm going to do middle school. I mean, here's the thing. Elementary kids are still eating crayons. High school kids have already decided if they just want to manufacture babies and live off the system, or if they want to work at McDonald's. There's nothing I can do to change their mind. So the middle school, middle school kids, you can still have a conversation with and you can influence the outcome. So, I mean, I just feel more comfortable in the 6th and 8th grade range.
I subbed in high school a couple of times, and I'm not gonna lie, I was freaking terrified when half the students were taller than me, and I'm not short. Like, that was scary. I put on their Spanish movie and sat in the corner and hoped that none of them challenged.
And dude, you look like 21 years old. You're drop dead gorgeous. Like,
oh, come on.
Oh, facts, bitch, facts.
I'm not gonna. I'll be 40 next year. I just realized that this last birthday.
I'll
Kinda
be
scary.
44 next year. Quit your complaining.
Was 40 like 30? I gotta ask.
Yeah, you know what? I do think that 40 is the new 30. It really didn't affect me. When I was younger, you hear about people turning 40 and they would put gift cards, lordy, lordy, so-and-so's 40, and it's like, it was like this stone you hit that was over the hill. But I got to be honest, I don't see it that way. And I think that in this age we're in, and, when I was younger, one of my great grandfathers lived to be 87. And I remember thinking, holy shit, that is so old. Like, someone lived to be that old, like almost 90. And nowadays, it's not uncommon. People get between 80 and 90. It's very easy. So,
oh yeah, I had great grandparents live into their hundreds.
Dude,
weird.
I think my oldest was 98 that I know of for great grandparents. A lot of it's in genetics, and your genetics are on point. You are on fleek.
Nah. I'll go out somehow.
Rip's making some good points on how the dogs react to you, and it's like Buddy, the way he's trained, like with my triggers, they can. Your body gives off certain, I don't know if they're pheromones or whatever they are. Your body gives off certain smells. They can smell somebody whose blood sugar is spiking. They can smell anxiety before it comes on. Like, he knows if I'm fixing to have a PTSD issue. He knows, like, he legit. Everybody's different, from the time that it starts processing in my body before I actually have an episode. And I don't know if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, or whatever, but he knows before I do. And what he's trained to do, because I operate in a school environment, and he's over on his bed in the classroom doing my thing, moving and walking. And his way he reacts is he's trained to get up and come over to me, and he will sit down and he stares at me. He stares me directly in the eyes, like he has to go to the bathroom or something. He gives me the stare, and that's my first warning. And then I just have to do the breathing exercises and get the heart rate down, and it calms me down. If I don't pay attention to him, he'll come over and he'll take his nose, and if I'm standing up or whatever, or sitting down, he'll nudge me in my leg. If I still don't acknowledge him, he will literally get up on his hind legs and lay his body across my lap. That's called grounding. And if that doesn't work, he will head to the door. He will be like, we're leaving, and he will remove me from the environment. If I'm hanging onto the leash, he will completely disregard my commands and take me away from the environment and make me take like a little walk and calm down. But it's a trip, man. And you can train dogs, or people train dogs to respond to your triggers differently. Some of them will train them to act different or whatever, but like his are low key and quiet, because I wanted it low key. Like, he can let me know if a trigger's happening beforehand, so I can do the breathing techniques to take the heart rate and bring things out of it. But it's really, like, if you do like research into it, it is really insane how they train them and the way the dogs react to it. It's really, really cool.
Has Buddy ever literally saved your life? Or what's the closest?
Like, he's done, it's like, he's done like say with seeing eye dogs. Guide dogs are trained to ignore their handler if their handler is trying to put them in a bad situation. Like, if a guide dog walks up to an intersection, to a street, and the person guiding them says, to go, and there's a car coming, the dog will literally get in front of that person and stop them. But like with Buddy, he's so good at what he does. Like, when I was on medication, it helped, pretty good, but I had issues with it, side effects. So that's why I got him. But since I've been paired with him, honestly, when I first got him, I really couldn't notice any difference. Like I was having a lot of attacks. But within the first 90 days, they just tanked. Like boom. Then him and me got into a groove. And like now, I know it's crazy, but now, having the leash in my hand, that's like, it's weird. It's like just knowing that I have that leash for some reason calms me down. It's like I know that if I'm gonna really flip out on somebody, he'll let me know beforehand and stop me from doing it. So it's almost like a comfort zone. It's really weird. It's like having like your best friend walking beside you that can see 10 minutes into the future, that keeps you out of trouble. That's kind of what he does. It's really weird.
Right.
It's like really.
He's kind of like my husband.
That's a good analogy. Buddy will have senses that Ghost doesn't have sooner, and be able to warn and just feel things out. I think it's remarkable. I believe that animals like that live on another level of consciousness. And I'm not trying to be weird, but I think they do. I think they have. I mean, a dog for anxiety, that means they're sensing your energy,
They can sense things. I mean, animals, like if you work with any kind of livestock or anything like that, even if you're trying to be brave, like say, like my bull, for example, right? If I'm around him and I'm in any way nervous, which I do get nervous because they're unpredictable as all get out. If I am nervous, he starts acting more aggressive. Even if I'm pretending not to be nervous.
So do you guys think they smell fear, or because they say that about sharks? You put off fear,
smell
they
it.
smell it.
Well,
I really think they have.
Dogs are descended from wolves, and a wolf is a prey animal, and all prey animals have certain triggers, just like we do. So basically, when you're in a fearful state, you're ringing the dinner bell, in a Neanderthal way of saying it, and it triggers certain reactions in them, just like I get triggered. So when prey animals, when they see an animal in distress, freaking out, screaming, making all kind of it triggers them. I mean, it's a dinner bell. It's like it's a primal thing, and it's something that you really can't breed out of them. You can train them to kind of ignore it, but it's a trip. I mean, it's like for instance, like say at night, if I'm having a nightmare or I'm having a hard time sleeping and I'm having a nightmare, lots of times it takes a while. Like lots of times he'll stop it like before it happens, like before it really gets started. I'll feel his 85 pounds laying across my chest. He'll just get up and he'll come over and he'll just lay on top of me. And it literally, the grounding part, and it changes your respiration in your chest. And it wakes me up, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I'll pet him for a little bit, then he'll get off and go lay it back down. And if I do it again, he'll get up and come lay across me. And it's like his gentle way of waking me up. But if I'm like legit in a full blown, episode or whatever, which has only happened once, he legit wakes me up. He'll take his paws and put them on my chest and bounce up and down like he's doing CPR. I mean, he does the nose thing in my face, the licking, all that. Like he legit wakes you up. Like he takes his job really seriously. Like I can't ignore it. Yeah,
it sounds like he can anticipate the stress response before it even happens.
Yeah, it's something, and it took him a while to get used to me and how I act, and it took me a while to get used to him and how he does it. It wasn't like I met him and we like meshed, like instantly. It was like a process. There are a lot of people that get these dogs and they actually bring them back because the act of getting a service dog, if you have PTSD or something like that, because I don't like people, I don't like attention. So walking out in public with a beautiful animal on a leash, automatically people, especially animal lovers and kids and old women, they flock to you. It's like a magnet. So that's completely the opposite of what I need. So there are a lot of people with PTSD and anxiety that get a legitimate service dog and they will give them back, and they choose to go through life dealing with it on their own versus working through it. Like he's taught me that, he's basically, if I could speak dog and understand him, he's like, dude, just freaking deal with it. You know, we got shit to do. So he's kind of made me get out and function with people. Because I have to interact, and that's all because of him. Because without him, I would interact for a little bit, then somebody's getting popped in the mouth, and I got to answer questions. But with him, it's completely different. It's really cool. But it took a while. I mean, I ain't gonna lie. There was probably about a 3 or 4 week period where I was contemplating, giving him back, because it was a major life change.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly like animals more than people, to be honest.
Animals don't lie.
I mean, I like some people.
Yeah, animals are awesome. Animals don't lie. I mean, they are what they are. It's like,
yeah, they won't lie.
It's like I've got scratches on my arms today from messing with the rabbits, but it's not like I didn't know that was going to happen. Yeah. And I'm not mad at them for scratching me. I had the gloves. The gloves are sitting right there on the end of the cage. I could put the gloves on. I could have put a long sleeve shirt on and I had to worry about it, but I didn't. That was my choice. They're going to scratch.
I'll always wear a hoodie and gloves when checking whether they're male or female, or
that's what I was doing today. Yeah, I've got
time.
They got me good, but it's like it's happened so many times right now. I'm like numb to it. It bleeds a little bit. It doesn't even hurt anymore. It's like whatever. But the thing is, the gloves were literally 20 feet away. I could have put on a long sleeve shirt, but I didn't. That's my fault, not the rabbit. It's my fault, not the rabbits. I'm like, whatever. But I'm not gonna be mad about the rabbit. I mean, rabbits, they're used to getting snatched up from above by a bird and getting eaten. You know what I mean? So when you pick them up by the nape of the neck, yeah, they're not happy about that.
No.
It is what it is.
True.
But you can't be mad at animals for doing, that's what they do. It's, yeah.
Yeah. They react how they're supposed to react.
Yeah. Yeah. So, it is what it is. But the rabbits are fun. They're cool. I'm still trying to sex the 9 that Zah kicked out. I think I've got them 80% sexed. I'm still not sure about a couple of them. Boom, obvious. But there's 3. It's that could kind of go either way. You know what I mean?
So, are you planning on selling them, or are you planning on processing them?
Zah's the first litter. I don't plan on processing any of them. I plan on Native's going to get at least 2, maybe 3. And then that leaves 6. I'm going to keep at least 3 in my breeding because Tribe's over 2 years old. He's 2.5 now, at least. Even though he's rocking and rolling, he's got about another year or so, and then his production is going to start to go down. So I want to have at least 1 backup buck. I'm probably going to keep 2 because of his age.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to test both of them out and make sure they are good breeders and just kind of go from there.
How old are they? No.
Zah's babies?
Yeah.
11 weeks. No.
So almost 3 months.
No. They're 13.
They're not active for
They're
another
13
month.
weeks. Yeah, they're 13 weeks. They're right at the point to where they're going to start, doing the thing. So I got to get them separated out. They're 13 weeks.
I was going to say, you'll find out real quick who's the males and who's the females.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Even if there's an accident, and there's the inbreeding. If it's just for meat, it's really not that big of a deal. You're just going to harvest them, But I just don't want to do the whole inbreeding thing and take a chance on, getting some bad genes in there.
Yeah, if you get babies out of that group, that's your eating group.
Yeah, there are plenty of rabbitries out there that all they do is inbreed, but it's for meat. It's really not an issue on how the animal behaves. It's really not an issue on how it breeds because you're not going to breed it. You're going to eat it.
Yeah. I know it sounds messed up, but that's what it happens in nature. And pretty much any of the bad genetics dies off really fast, and any of the good genetics carries on. That's why wild breeds are generally hardier than your domesticated ones. We just put crutches underneath all of them. Yeah. We need to stop doing that, which is what I tried to do. I try not to get upset over losses because I understand that would not have survived in the wild. And I honestly don't want that for breeding.
Yeah. Like I said, this is still my first round of doing rabbits, so it's a lot of trial and error for me. Once I process, once I get through the first breeding season. It's like probably here in the next 30 days. I'm gonna do some heavy hardcore breeding because all of Zah's babies are gonna be ready to be bred. So I'm gonna be breeding 6 of those total. So, yeah.
You're gonna have a lot of rabbits.
I'm gonna be doing some processing, for at the end of the winter time for going into the spring. So hopefully the freezer and the canning jar is gonna be full of rabbits.
You better spread that out because man,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
gonna be
it's 2 at a time.
overflowing.
It's 2 at a time. I'm breeding 2 at a time, and I'm waiting probably at least 2 weeks, and I'll breed 2 more, and I'll wait 2 weeks and 2 more. That way, I've got 2 mamas. So if somebody is a bad mama, I can foster the babies.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing 6 at once. No.
Oh, I never finished. We were canning at one point, and I told you about the one that ate a lot of her babies, except for 2. I did end up fostering those over to another mama rabbit. And you know what I did? I put tea tree oil, like the essential oil stuff. I put it on her nose. It's super strong. Probably was obnoxious. And I also put it on all the babies. And she accepted them.
So I can't remember what channel it was, but it was somebody that had 2 rabbits that kindled within like 3 days of each other. And one mother had like 3 kits, and the other mother had like 4 or 5 kits, but she would not feed, and 2 died, and she just could not nurse them. So wow. What they did is she went into her nest and she took all of her fur out, and she went in the other mama's nest and she mixed both the furs together, and then she had the babies. So the mama that she fostered them to, the scents were mixed together. So I was like, man, that is a really good idea. But
yeah, because it's about the scent.
The rabbit fur. They save the rabbit fur. So just in case that happens, they can, rub the kit with the rabbit fur. They can spread the rabbit fur around, which I thought that was a really cool idea.
Yeah, it's all about the scents, apparently. Like, honestly, I think with some animals, her kiddo. Honestly, like some animals, like especially lactating animals, like cows or sheep or goats or something like that. I think they actually smell a certain smell that comes out the other end, maybe a little bit. That's my theory, is that's how they can actually tell them apart. Because some of them, Night Sophia. Oh yeah, it is. Right. Shit. Shoot.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like, it's fun because it's like a trial and error thing. It's like with my garden, It's like, we'll figure it out,
Oh yeah, it's fun. It can be hard. We actually sold all of our sheep because we were done.
It's like frustrating with the rabbits because they're so fun and cute and they're like, cool, but they're literally the dumbest animal on the fucking planet. What kind of animal purposely shits and pisses in their food where I gotta clean it like 5 times a day? I'm like, stop.
They all do, Ghost. All of them. Like every freaking except for the pigs, ironically.
I literally put like the little stainless steel automatic waters up like higher than the rabbit's ass, and I got one rabbit that'll drop 1 turd in that thing every single day, and they legitimately have to jump to do it.
Yeah, just go ahead and call that one.
I give you fresh water, I give you fresh food, you eat a little bit, you drink a little bit, then you piss and shit in both those bowls, and then you act like you're fucking starving. I'm like, what the hell?
That's where you selectively cull. Like if you have traits that you don't like.
Yeah.
Sayonara.
It's funny.
Hey,
it's
Roman.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Hey,
no, we actually have a running joke that all of our animals love to just stand in the middle of their food, especially when it comes to hay. Stand in the middle of their food and do their business, and that makes total sense to them for some reason.
I'm like,
and we just see that as like, oh great, yeah, we just bought all the hay and now you're standing in it, doing your business, and now you're not going to eat it. And no, isn't that great?
Yeah. Ridiculous.
It's super fun.
Super fun. Yeah, but it's funny because it's like I've got it narrowed down now. It's one of the red rabbits that's doing it because I separated. I put the reds in one cage, the grays in one cage, and the blacks in one cage.
Ah.
And the red rabbits, they pee in the water like instantly. The other two colors, they don't pee in the water. Now they
It's
will
probably a buck.
They will shit in the food bowl, but they don't pee in the water. Like they legit they have to get all four paws in the food bowl and sit down and shit and eat. They eat at one end and they spit it out the other end. You know, but thankfully today I found 2 more feeders, so I don't do the bowls anymore. So I got 2 more automatic feeders today. So thankfully I ain't gotta worry about that anymore.
Most likely if it's peeing in something, it's a buck. It's a boy. They love to show off their skills.
I shit you not. A couple of Mormon missionaries just came to my door, and even though I told them I was already raised in the religion and left, they wouldn't go away. And that's why I've been gone for 10 minutes.
Girl, you should have turned the camera on and brought it in there with you.
Oh my God. Yeah, it won't reach that far, but yeah, it kind of cracked me up. Is that providence or previdence? I don't know.
That would have been a really good live
I
stream.
assume they mean well.
It would have been, yeah. Yes, sir.
Definitely.
My favorite conversation was with a couple of Mormon girls. They came to my door and I sat on my stoop. This is when we lived in town. And I had a glass of wine and my smokes. And we just talked for a good long hour.
Mm-hmm.
And I challenged so much.
You know,
and they looked at me like I was like a mess. What?
I did the same thing in Virginia, no less. And I had probably a glass of wine. I definitely had a water pipe. And they know who you are. Okay. It's like having a social security card. When you have a member number in that place, they know who you are and where you are. Anyway, I loved it. We would sit and talk and they would never get offended or walk away. And I was very open about extra things that I thought or believed. And they came back actually pretty often. I'm pretty sure because it was a chill place to go. You know what I mean? Like we would, they would just sit and watch me, but it was like just hanging out and they
Getting
could
in
report
those
they got
community service hours.
Yeah, service hours. Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yep.
I've actually, my sister-in-law raises quail, and yeah, they're pretty dumb. She has a beautiful bowl of like quail eggs. We get quail eggs every once in a while. It takes about 30 for us to make a breakfast, but yeah. The eggs, not the quail. I haven't actually tasted the quail yet.
What? That's some good.
No, I haven't.
What? That is
well,
some good.
I mean, so I've heard, and I'm actually my daughter wanted to take one home, and my sister-in-law was going to let her, and I was like, well, that's just another animal you have to take care of. It has to have a separate place, you know, different food, blah blah blah. And she was like, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. She already does the chickens, the pigs, the cows. Yeah. So she's my right hand man.
Yeah. All right, boys and girls, it's 10 till 10. We've been on here for almost 2.5 hours. I think I'm going to go ahead and shut this one down and go fix me some dinner. Made some cube steak and gravy, lima beans and rice. Oh, it's on.
Oh, hey, Jess. Dang it.
Yes.
Oh, did she just pop in?
Unless Jess and maybe Nikki and Roman or anybody else wants to come up here. If people want to join the chat, we'll keep it rolling. Y'all just got to give me a pee break.
Yeah, he's done with us.
I'll drop the link. Now y'all can stay.
Bored of us. I knew it.
I know, right?
I
what
probably do have to go, though.
Are you canning Milkmaid this week?
I think I am. I don't know what.
What are you doing?
I don't know what yet.
Me neither.
I've got to see what I have.
Yeah.
I do when I can, because I missed what I missed last week, didn't I? Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
came in.
I tried to come up, and my internet has been stupid. I actually may have to like only do it like twice a month, depending, because with our change in job situation, I have less internet now.
Right.
So I have to just do my phones, and that's not very dependable.
Yeah.
So especially after doing a live tonight, I probably have killed a lot of my data.
Yeah, I get that.
Or I'll just come up for a little bit and then drop down to chat, that kind of thing.
I love it.
But-
Play hopscotch. Jump in.
There
when
you go.
Hit it hot, then jump out. The next bitch comes up. Yeah.
There you go. Well, and I talked to, now I'm going to call him out, but Silverback Preparedness was saying that he's been wanting to do canning. So I'm hoping he's coming up this weekend, because that would be pretty awesome. That's another dude.
Yeah, he'd be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always excited no matter who it is, but I really get excited when a guy actually gets interested, because it's generally considered like a chick thing. So,
Yeah.
Hey, Romy.
What's up? How you guys doing?
What's going on,
Romy.
brother?
Yeah, I have. What do you want? Come here. I turned around, a dog magically appears.
You know what's funny, Milkmaid? It is kind of like a chick thing, but at the same time, the reputation of the best chefs in the world are of men. And you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, well, I guess it's a chick thing, but men are really good cooks. They're some of the best known chefs and written as such.
I'll tell you what, the Rona, I got
really
my
are.
inner chef on, big time.
Yeah. Prepper Tribe was canning again today. He posted a video. He's doing more potatoes.
I saw that. Loved
He's
it.
got the canning bug bad. He's just canning like crazy.
Nice.
You know what my problem is? Storage. I found the gumbo pot to be perfect. I found a trivet to put at the bottom, at least for the water bath. I don't know where I'm going to put that stuff.
Yeah, storage is a big issue. You don't have it.
Yeah, I gotta get creative. We
I
got a
did-
much
I did-
smaller house out here.
Yeah, I did under the bed. I lined the walls in my house, like the dead wall, and in two of the bedrooms I had lined with cans or
Yeah.
jars. And I slid the jars under the bed, you know, and then we moved, and I had a spare bedroom, so it became the pantry. And then we moved again. Now I have a basement, so I got plenty of room.
So I'm just curious. I was listening about what you said about putting the rings back on, and then you can stack because the physics of it'll put the weight on the rings. And but how many cases high would you go?
I don't think there is a number. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I stacked them 6 high in the back of a U-Haul truck, bouncing on back country roads from Florida to here. And I only had one lid pop. And I mean, I had them stacked in the back of a U-Haul. So, I mean, myself, I'm comfortable with the rings halfway on. And now, when I say halfway on, I mean the rings on the grooves, but not touching the lid. And when I did that, I screwed them on halfway, and I took a piece of duct tape, and I duct taped the rings in place so they wouldn't. So there was a stationary level that the second stack was sitting on, so they weren't touching the lids at all. And they were very secure. I would feel comfortable. I would stack them, 6, 7 layers high in my house. I would have no problem with that at all.
Right.
But, I mean, instead of doing that, I just built shelves, so I can stack them 2 rows high and I'm good.
Oh, I will.
Yeah, since we have that smaller house, I'm getting creative with vertical storage in the garage, and we have an insulated connected garage, which is rare. So even during the freeze, it stayed in the 60, 50 degree range. It was tolerable. So
that's good.
Yeah, it is. And I can find places to stack like extra cupboard corners or whatever. But I was really just wondering how high. So, I mean, in one space, for example, I could probably get 6 or 7 cases stacked, but is that wise?
Are you putting them in the box when you stack them?
Yeah, in the box with the rings back on, so the weight goes on the rings.
So the weight goes on the rings.
Do the rings rings are halfway on. Do them halfway on. Make sure no part of the ring is touching the lid. And then put your little piece of duct tape or masking tape to keep the ring from twisting. And then sit your next layer directly on top, and you're fine. I would go 5 or 6 high. I would legit. You could even go as far as maybe getting a piece of cardboard. I mean, a piece of plywood, and every third layer, put that in there. But if you're going to go that route, you could just as easily build some shelves.
Build shelves.
But if you're doing them in a closet, I would go. If I was stacking them and I'm doing the rings halfway on and they're taped, so I know the rings aren't moving, I'd go to the roof. I wouldn't worry about it a bit.
I was just thinking, what about, those dispensers for cans that they kind of come down, but then you'd have that vertical weight. I don't know how good that would work.
Yeah, I have no problem stacking them. I have no problem. And I know people say, "Oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't." Let me tell you something. If I can stack them 6 cases high, loaded in the back of a U-Haul, and I mean bouncing through some country roads that don't even have names, and I only lost 1 jar. Yeah, you can stack them if you do it right. Just back the rings off halfway on there and tape them so they don't move, and just stack them. Make sure the stacks are straight and there's no uneven pressure on the other stuff, and you're fine.
Right. It makes sense.
If you're not putting any pressure on the rings, you don't have anything to worry about.
Yeah.
Does make sense.
I mean, by backing the rings off and taping them in place, you're essentially building a shelf, okay? In between each case, you're building a separate shelf in between each case. Now that weight is going to get transferred to that one on the bottom, so I mean, obviously, it's going to depend on how much weight you have on top of it, but I 5, 6 high, I wouldn't have any problem with that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how they're going to handle. So you guys know part of my name, roaming's, because they keep relocating me, so I move everywhere. I've been here 26 months, and I already got a text from someone going, "So we might have something in Dallas now." It's like we just finished unpacking. So that's something else to think about. If you think you might have to move, how you store them.
Yeah.
If you put them in something you can manage, that might make a difference. So I got to think about that too. Shoot.
Yeah. Nikki, what's going on? You look like somebody brought you chili and it didn't have beans in it. You look upset.
Oh, someone brought her some sloppy Joe.
Hell
No,
yeah.
I'm not upset. I'm just tired. I was working on expanding the garden today. So
you should get Rosa's tacos. You'd perk right up.
I'm just tired. You're my quail babies.
So what kind of expanding are you doing, like for fall growing or?
Just expanding the
Good night, Milkmaid.
Good night, Milkmaid. No, I have plans. Plans take a while. One whole side of my yard, I plan on being a garden eventually. So I'm slowly expanding. I don't know if you saw my garden is very big right now, but it's gonna move all the way across that side of the yard. We've even taken 3 trees out to create more sunlight. So I have a super shady yard like you. But yeah, no, just garden work, mulch.
Are you going to do raised beds or an area with a little fencing around it, or
both? I have an area with fencing around it. That was my initial area, and I have raised beds out beyond that. And then I'm expanding more in-ground planting on the sunnier side of the yard. So, it's a process. It's just, I only started the garden. I actually broke ground trying to get rid of the St. Augustine grass about a little over a year ago. I had no gardens at all, no vegetables, never grown a garden, nothing. I had beautiful, thick St. Augustine and a little tiller I bought. And it's been a process since then. So we're getting there now.
Making room to grow some beans. I love it.
Yeah, I'm growing green beans right now. No, my okra is still going crazy, and my peppers are still going absolutely crazy. My baby's out there rocking and rolling. I have, I am planting fall stuff. I have arugula and kale and Swiss chard and stuff like that planted. So yeah, I'm in Texas. I'm tank top and flip flops here still, man. So, I'm just going to grow all year long, I think, is what it is.
Go for it, man.
Hey, Nikki, can I ask you a question? How much, I guess, acreage, how much ground footage are you using for the different crops? Because I'm very limited, at least for now.
Well,
if I was in Houston, I had all sorts of water and all sorts of soil, but not so much here.
well, like I said, I just started this last year. I don't have a specific method of gardening. Like
Okay,
it's all an
fair enough.
experiment, kind of like Ghost. I have stuff in ground. I have stuff in raised beds. I have stuff in pots. It's, you know, and I do that companion planting, I guess some would say. Like, it's so weird the seasons here because it's still so hot here. I'm still, like I said, my peppers and my okra in the fenced area are still rocking and rolling. And I'm like, it's time to put fall stuff in the ground. What do I do? And I'm just planting
Right.
stuff in between. I still have an eggplant shooting off Asian eggplants, and I'm planting like bok choy under it, you know? Like I'm
Oh,
just
wow.
like filling in the gaps. Yeah. I mean, it's
Hmm.
cool.
You're
So,
blessed with a long season. I say roll with it. Do as much as you can.
Mhm.
yeah, I'm just sort of mixing stuff up. I got stuff all over the place, just kind of, and I'll find a spot and I'll be like, well, I'm considering planting some more green beans or something under the okra, because the okra's like 10 foot tall now. No, not quite that big, but
Yeah.
I'm having to like pull it down to pick the okra. It's crazy.
The okra,
I mean,
the okra that I planted in the 5-gallon buckets, I'm 6'2" and it's taller than me, and it's in a 5-gallon bucket, limited root growth, and the stalks are, oh my God, they're bigger, way bigger than my thumb.
oh
Hell
yeah,
And they're in a 5-gallon bucket. So that was an experiment. And there's no dirt in the bucket. The only thing that was in the bucket was straw, rabbit manure. And now it was full when I started. Now the bucket's it's a little less than half full, but they're still producing okra.
Yeah, and they will, apparently, from what I learned, till the first frost. I didn't know. I had one of my mom's friends told me, oh yeah, you're gonna get okra till the first frost. And I thought, you know, so much for having a spring summer garden, taking everything out and then planting your fall crops. I'm like, what do I do with this? It's gonna break my heart to take the okra or the peppers or whatever. The peppers are crazy. They're going nuts.
Yeah,
and
peppers, over winter, your peppers, bring them inside. That's what I'm doing.
Planted in the fenced area. And
what kind of peppers?
Oh, I've got poblanos and Anaheims and jalapenos.
Okay, so the hot peppers, not like bell peppers.
Oh, I got bell peppers. I have purple bell peppers.
I got bell peppers, banana peppers, cayenne peppers.
High chilies, cayennes. My peppers are nuts.
Yeah, I'm overwintering. I've got to I'm going to do my banana pepper, my big plant, probably this week. And then I'm going to cut back my bell pepper plant and bring those inside, overwinter them. I'll butcher them and just cut them way back. But the second year, they're good. I know plants 4 years old.
But I'm not going to do it because mine are planted in ground and I need that space. So, because they're in my fence space and our deer are crazy out here. And so we bought one of those automatic, like I have a sensor water sprinkler thing that I turn on tonight. And so when the deer come through the night, hopefully it scares them off, because my whole first round of okra I planted outside my fenced area. Deer ate them down. Yeah. My first round of green beans, I had trellises out there outside the fenced area because my fenced area is only like 16 by 20. And so I had stuff in there and I had a whole bunch of other stuff outside. Deer ate all them down. So I got the second round of green beans, believe it or not. And the green beans are about, I don't know, 1.5 inches long now. And it's October. I'm going to get green beans again.
Hell yeah. Go for it.
It's crazy.
I had a little patch of corn come up. It wasn't very much, maybe 20 stalks, but it was a small patch. But deer came and ate every single shoot. They trampled it down. I could see from the footprints and everything. So
yeah,
it was really, really frustrating. But I'm curious, those of us who are trying with grow lights, what do you think is realistic? Because in my mind, anything that requires a ton of sun, that's the hardest thing to replicate, is the sun. So major fruits, you know, I just don't think that's realistic. Even including tomatoes, I'm not sure if you can do those in a indoor LED artificial light situation. But I think hydroponics with lettuces and greens and herbs and all of that. What does anyone think about other vegetables? Does anyone have experience or know other ones that'll work?
The lettuces and stuff with artificial light do fine. I'm gonna do tomatoes indoors this winter with the grow lights. But the way I'm gonna station them, they're still gonna get some ambient sunlight from the half windows in the basement. And what I plan on doing is taking cardboard and wrapping it around the growing area, and I'm gonna line it with a little foil, so what sunlight it does get bounces around.
It'll maximize that light.
Yeah, and just kind of kick it off, bounce around, and I'll have the grow light above it, and just see how it works.
What kind of grow lights are you guys using? Because that's really interesting to me. I've used the Aero Garden, but it's an LED-based grow light, and those plants grew prolifically.
I've got 3 different kinds. I've got the LED. I got one off of Amazon. It looks like an outdoor floodlight. It's got like a 6-inch face to it with the different. I think
it has like 4 colors in there, doesn't it?
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And but it works really good. I'm gonna use it, and then I've also got 2 that I got from Home Depot about a year ago. They're about 2 foot long, a few inches wide. They're LED based, but they're still the color lights, the grow lights, and I've used those before to sprout seeds and get them going indoors. They work really, really well. And then I've got the fluorescent bulbs, for your overhead.
Right, the old style grow lights, the long ones.
Those 4-footers I'm going to get here at Walmart that are the grow lights. So I'm going to do a combination of all 3 and kind of see which one works the best. So, next time around, I'll just use that one. But I kind of have a fun just mixing that with what little bit of sunlight they'll get in the winter through the windows.
Yeah.
Put it over the top. I don't think honestly, it's not nothing I grow indoors in the winter is gonna do as good as it would outdoors.
Right.
Right.
But there is a trade-off. I mean, obviously, insects will be less of a worry. I won't have to worry about the deer eating them. So there's like 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah.
They won't be as massive and productive as they would outside, but I don't have to fight off the deer and the rabbits and the bugs and things like that. So it's going to be, this whole winter is going to be like a huge experimental testing ground, just like my garden was, outside.
I'll be doing the same type of experiments. I would suggest and I don't know yet because I'm going to experiment, but if we're trying to fruit something, I would say smaller things like cherry tomatoes as opposed to Big Zac. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I took suckers off of my Big Zac and the Cherokee Purple. I've got them rooting outside right now in with the sweet potatoes. And those are the ones I'm going to bring inside and try to do over the winter, simply because they're suckers off of a mature plant. So they don't have to go through that adolescent growth phase. They're already, they're going to instantly start flowering. So they're going to start as a mature plant. So it's, in my mind, at least, starting with a mature clone is going to be a little bit stronger than starting with a seedling, I would think. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
but I think the production rate will be quicker. I think it'll go into the fruiting stage earlier. Right. So in my mind, I'm thinking that if it takes it longer to produce a mature fruiting plant, then I want to start with a mature plant, and give it a longer time to fruit.
Cloning.
But, we'll see. I'll see how the Big Zac does. I'm gonna do it inside and see what happens.
Hell yeah, try it anyway.
That was a good, man. That was a good tomato.
You know, at the last farmers market, I ran into some folks from the university ag program. They were handing out flyers of local plants you could grow, and it didn't occur to me to do a raised garden with a grow light indoors like you just suggested. Because I'm thinking if I have to leave,
I don't think I'm gonna do soil indoors though. I think I'm gonna do hydroponics and let it roll. I think I may try soil, but it's gonna be how would I word it? It's gonna be it's going to be a Frankenstein model. What I think I'm going to do is have either the soil, or I may do. I was thinking about doing the rabbit manure indoors, but I don't think I will, just because of the likelihood of more insects and stuff like that and bacteria. I think I'm going to do. I may just get some more clay pebbles and do just the hydro, but and do that with the lights and just see how that works. So I may do the crack key method again indoors.
That would be a fun challenge, as a bunch of us try different ways of growing indoors and then see who succeeds. Because even if you fail, you learn something.
Yeah. Well, everything, all the lessons I learned this year were all from failures, but what are you going to do? That's how you learn.
Well, regarding the lights, roaming prepper, let's say we're going to grow lettuce indoors. What I recommend and what I have found to be the most effective is about 10,000 lumens per roughly 6 to 8 square feet. And what you're looking at
10,000 lumens?
Correct.
Ooh,
and
okay.
what you're looking at to replicate the sun is a combination of lumens and kelvins, and whether it's a warm or a cool spectrum. And so that's why when you said earlier, there's like 4 different types. Well, there's a red, a blue, a white,
It's trying to replicate the solar spectrum.
Exactly. And in order to, for example, tomatoes are in the same family as a lot of things that I know about. And you need a lot of lumens in a certain square footage. And those lumens, I have a couple of boards. They're Samsung LED boards. They were about $60. They're 10,000 lumens they throw off a piece, but they only cost the equivalent of, man, I'd have to look at it. It's
the LED lights comparatively are cheap.
Yeah, they're really cheap. And back in the day, I tried some of the lights Ghost was talking about. I tried bulbs. I actually made a frame that held about 15 CFLs, and that will make fruit happen. But the big difference is getting the number of lumens in the X by X space
area.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. In order
That's
to
something good to think about. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because then I'll have something I can.
And I also learned, with starting your seedlings inside, a lot of people they're getting leggy because they're reaching for the sunlight. And one of the simplest ways to fix that problem that I learned this year was to bounce the light around. If you're seeding plants inside and they got to reach for a window a long way away, that's going to make them get leggy. But if you put aluminum foil, things like that around it where that light bounces around and it gets hit from all sides, it won't do that. So I'm going to experiment with ways to refract the light and make it bounce around.
You know what, man? If you take that remember in high school when we did the experiments, if you use like a edge of not a credit card, but something smooth and smooth out that aluminum foil, and then adhere it to that cardboard, you'd probably get much more reflection that way. Yeah.
Plus, I want to bounce it around. I don't want it to be flat. I'm thinking about I'm thinking about doing like weird angles. Like it won't be a flat cardboard wall.
Right.
I'm thinking about doing 45-degree turns, like where it's all triangular.
Right.
Where when it hits, it's like bouncing around. So it's like,
you know what? Check Hobby Lobby, man. They may have like those curved things for something.
Yeah. So I mean, it's technically it's kind of like a solar oven is all I'm building for the tomatoes, for the plants, and just to see how they do.
Oh, there's material you can buy in rolls. It's white on one side, black on the other side. No euphemism intended, but it's specifically for gardening. And you hang it up in grow drobes or even in greenhouses, and it reflects the light to the appropriate degree to get it to bounce all over the place. I apologize, I cannot remember the name of the product, but it's this roll of material for gardening that you put in indoor grow things. It's not very expensive. You cut it off in a long sheet and hang it as needed.
Yep. Plus, reflective
Kevlar.
I wanted to be kind of mobile. That's why I was experimenting with the 5-gallon buckets and the 17-gallon tubs, is I want to be able to pick up whatever I'm growing and take it outside if during the winter the temperature gets up over 50, 60 degrees, even if they only get a few hours of natural sunlight, that's like a shot of steroids. That's like a shot in the ass.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
it's a lot of labor involved, but how much do you want to eat fresh fruit and fresh produce in the winter? So if it drops down into the 20s and 30s at night, but it's going to be 55, 60 during the day, and I can get 6 or 7 hours of natural sunlight, I'll carry every one of those buckets outside and then bring them back in when the sun goes down.
So you guys got me thinking, because we got some room in the garage, and my garage is really well lit.
Mm-hmm.
I bet I could put a little garden there. I just got to figure out, water. I'm going to have to water by hand. But if I use a hydroponic system or something similar, it's recirculate a lot of that water.
Yeah, I just got my pump in the mail the other day for my hydro system.
And if you have a small system, you could get a pump for a fish tank, like a 100-gallon fish tank. That's going to do, or a 50-gallon fish tank, or a 20-gallon fish tank. Just look for what you need on the output and the input, and that's kind of an inexpensive way to get going to learning hydro.
And another thing too, and I learned this from MHP Gardner. He's got a really good channel. He does a lot of hydro stuff. He had a greenhouse full of tomato plants that he was doing the Dutch bucket system with, and he built one row, and I want to say it had like 15 or 20 buckets in it, and he didn't have his pump and everything hooked up yet. He's like, I just want to let you guys know that you can do hydroponics without any electricity at all and without a pump, and I'm going to show you how. And he walks out to his greenhouse with a solo cup and the bucket of nutrients, and he went to each bucket and he just dipped it in, and he poured a solo cup full of nutrients in every bucket, and he did it 4 times a day. And it drained into the pipe and went back into the reservoir, but he just didn't have a pump. And those tomatoes were massive. He goes, every day I come out here at 3-4 times a day, and I just dump a cup of nutrients in there. He goes, you don't have to have a pump. You ain't got power. If the electricity goes out, you're not going to have a pump. So you might as well get used to doing it by hand, 2 or 3 times a day. And I was like, and then I got to thinking, I'm like, you know what? If you hung up a 5-gallon bucket, or say a 55-gallon drum above the level of the buckets that you're growing in, and put like a really small drip irrigation tube where it just like slowly dripped into all of your buckets over time, you could legit probably fill that 55-gallon drum up and do it, once every 3 or 4 days, and it would water all your stuff. So there's ways to do it without electricity.
That's neat.
Yeah. And the thing is too, with aeration, if your water is falling high enough and it's doing the splash thing, you're getting aeration. So I mean, if you're doing a pump and aeration, well, if you're just making sure the water's really got a good drop, you're aerating it right then and there. I mean, I learned that when I was doing my aquaponics with my fish. I just instead of just having the water come from the pump and dump into my fish tank, no, I put a pipe across the fish tank, and I drilled itty bitty little holes through there. So they're pumping with pressure. So that PVC pipe going across my fish tank with these 1/32 holes, it was blasting the top of the surface of the water, and it was aerating the entire tank. It was pressure. So I didn't use any air stones. Never once did I use any air stones in that system, and it worked great. And if you're doing a pipe and you've got any kind of fall to it or any kind of pressure, you can drill a relief hole in the top. It's called a venturi.
Oh yeah.
And you can just drill a relief hole in the top and have you and get another piece of little pipe or a straw, anything you want to come out of the top to where the water doesn't blow out of the hole. And when that pressure is running through it and the water's running through it, it's pulling air in from the outside.
It creates a vacuum. Mm-hmm.
I used the venturi, and I used just the pressure of the water to aerate my fish tank. And I had 50 tilapia in my tank. And they were happy and healthy and fat.
Yeah, that's
yeah. I mean, I experiment with things. I mean, and I know it sounds like crazy. Everybody's like, "Oh, you can't grow more than 30 tilapia in a 375-gallon IBC tote." And I'm like, "Watch me." I had over 1,000 fish in my system at one time. 3 IBC totes, 1 fish tank, and I had the grow tanks, and then I had the sump tanks underneath. But those fish breed like crazy. Like one female tilapia can have like over 1,000 babies at one time.
Yikes. That's a bit much.
It's amount to like 1,000. But and oh my God, they're making babies. I'm like, so I let them eat them. How can you do that? That's what they do in nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I let them free breed. I let them
Tilapia eat anything.
My food cost was cut down by like 60%. Just
How
because
big would the tilapia get?
How big?
Yeah.
They get big. Like the fillets I was making, I would in 10 months I would go from a itty bitty, you could barely see it. In 10 months, I had a 2.5, 3 pound fish. I was getting pound and a half fillets.
So you were getting
I have a video on my channel. It shows me filleting the fish and how big the fillets are, and it's on a 15-inch cutting board, and it goes from end to end.
That is freaking brilliant.
At night, I would hang a bug light up the tank, a bug zapper, and I took that tray off the bottom. So when the bugs got zapped, they
went straight down.
Yeah, the fish tore that shit up. Yeah, and the baby fish, when they would spawn, I would take a net and I'd scoop out a few and put in the tank on the other side, and I would grow them out in the tank. But what it was left in the tank, they got ate. I mean, and it's not like cruel. That's what they do in the water. That's normal. Fish eat other fish. Ta-da! Yeah. Newsflash. It happens normally.
Fish eat other fish.
True. I'm jealous. We wanted to grow tilapia so bad. I mean, they went from where you can't see them to about this big, and then the snow.
Yeah. That was like literally, I miss my aquaponics because it was the best fruit and vegetables I have ever eaten in my life. And the fish were awesome. Like awesome. Yeah. That was the fun part, growing the fish. They were so cool. And
I haven't got to grow the fish in there yet. We have some perch in there now just because we lost all our tilapia. But the Anaheim pepper, the aquaponics tank is Jeremy's baby, not mine, because that's too much going on. But I plant bok choy in there on the grow bed. It's just one. He wants to expand it to the multiple grow beds, but that's down the road. But it's just that one IBC that he did. But he planted some peppers in there late in the season, for peppers. And he's got 2 Anaheims that are like this long now. Aquaponics grows vegetables like crazy.
Better than anything.
Apparently,
let me tell you something. If you go back and look at my picture slideshow of my aquaponic system, I had collard green plants. They were 9 feet tall.
It was beautiful.
Wow.
That video
system
was awesome.
And here's the best part. This was in August in Florida. I grew winter plants
in summer. Yeah.
The summer, and they were. I had to cut them out with a sawzall. The stalks were this big around. I had to literally go get a power tool,
get a
stalks, and get them out. I'm not bullshitting. They messed up the complete system. They were so big. I had a tomato plant 6 months old. I called it my tomato tree. It was a year and a half.
I don't doubt you at all, man.
Yeah,
but the
tomatoes out there, ridiculous.
These collard plants were, oh my God, how could I didn't measure them like with a tape, but they were the size of a pillow in your bed. That's how big these collard leaves were. I mean, they were massive. Like one leaf was, like you could literally go outside and chop off one leaf, come inside and rip it apart and cook it, and that was a meal. They're massive. They were huge.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I grew an all-top turnip in there earlier in the year. It got big. And the biggest bok choy ever, I mean, it's long gone. I think I gave that to my son-in-law because he likes to put it in his homemade pho soup or whatever. But the biggest bok choy, it was like this tall, and the base was like this big around. It was awesome.
They had, people were saying, "Oh, you can't have that many fish." I'm like, watch me, all right? Because when you go into the science of aquaponics, the fish poop and they exhale, into the water through their gills, the ammonia, and then once your bacteria gets built up, the ammonia turns into nitrobacter and then nitrosamona. There's 2 different bacteria that have to happen to take the ammonia to nitrites to nitrates, which is the good stuff. I'm getting that right. I could be confusing. Anyway, it's a process. But once you get it ironed out and you figure out how to filter the water, when I wanted to grow more fish, but I didn't want to have to put in more grow beds, I just added 2 external 55-gallon filter tanks. I built those filters myself. And then what I did was I pulled everything out of my one of my grow beds that was the clay pebbles, and no bullshit, I had one tomato plant in there. I pulled off like 30 suckers, and I rooted those 30 suckers in that grow bed because tomatoes are nutrient hungry. Tomatoes need a lot of nutrients. All right, so tomatoes get the nutrients from the fish waste. Well, that's the best filtration system I ever found in aquaponics. Was I just overloaded the system with tomatoes, so the tomatoes were super cleaning the water for the fish. Like I was growing 10 times as many fish as you're supposed to, and they were fat and happy because I had so many tomato plants in there offsetting that waste. But it's a balance. If you're going to grow a lot of fish, you really got to have some good filtration.
Do you have a video of that somewhere in the?
There's one of my first videos I did. It's actually it's a picture slideshow of the system that I built, but it shows my grow beds. It shows the fish. You know, it shows a lot of cool
Because
stuff.
I want to get some acreage on the next house, or at least put like maybe a metal building in the back, and that would be a perfect. I could put a massive grow.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm going to do one here. Over the winter, come spring, I'll have me a new aquaponic system. I just got to.
I'm going to look up your original video and put it up here.
Cool. Yeah, it's a picture slideshow, the aquaponic system. Because I never did videos of it, but let me tell you,
awesome.
It is the best way to grow protein and vegetables and fruit at the same time. Your only input is the fish food.
I never thought about growing fish.
It's the best taste. You think tilapia is fresh when you get it at the store? Look, I had I was in Florida, so it's hot all the time, but I had a lanai out back, a screened-in lanai, and I put my tank inside the lanai to keep the bugs down. But I would legit be in the kitchen, and I would need some celery for beef stew. I walked outside, 15 feet with a knife, cut off a couple of sprigs of celery, came inside, chopped them up, put them in the stew. You don't get any fresher than that. I was putting tilapia, okay? I would go to the tank with my net a tilapia, come inside, fillet it, and within 5 minutes of it breathing on its own, it was in the oven. Fat.
I was just thinking, I do my fish on a cast iron. How good would that taste?
Oh,
you
yeah.
leave the skin on the fillets and just put some herb butter on it.
Yeah, I would walk outside and grab a tomato, come inside, grab a pepper, grab whatever I was growing. The collards went absolutely nuts. I've still got a case of collards that I grew in my aquaponic system downstairs in my pantry that I canned. And they're just massive. They were huge. I was giving away bags and bags of collards. Like I was probably giving away 20 pounds of collard greens a week to my neighbors. Hey, Roots, can you like play that and do the share screen? I don't know how to do that. You can like watch the slideshow.
I have no idea how to do that.
I might know how, but I don't know if I'll screw everyone up.
Oh no.
I mean, I've tried it on this computer, but for some reason it won't let me do it.
Copy link.
All right. If I hit share screen, I'm just going to click a bunch of buttons and see what happens.
Do you have a second screen, Virginia?
Yeah, I have another tab open.
No, but I mean a second, like, monitor.
Oh, yeah, no. Do I need that?
I think so, because
Ghost, it's in your. I put it in the private chat. You can put it on yours. That's your 1 minute video, and I put it in the main chat also, as well as Roaming's website or page. And Nikki, I couldn't find one for you. Do you have a channel?
I do. There's not much on it. I've had it for like 7 months, and I posted a video just a little while ago, and Jeremy's like, "Oh, great! Only took you 7 months."
Girl, I'll put it in there.
In between prepping, but it's terrible.
Prepping. It's not terrible. Come on, give yourself credit.
All right, wait. I think I got it. I don't know. Maybe not.
I'm
gonna try. Let me see if.
Okay, go ahead. You try.
Let me see.
Try it first.
If I get kicked off, you'll know what I did wrong.
Any of this. I'm lucky to get on here because Jeremy usually says that.
Can you see it?
I gotta pull it up. Hang on.
I can't find it yet, Nikki.
It's okay. There's not much on
it.
Yeah.
I can
Can
see
y'all
it.
see that?
Okay. Yeah, it
Yes.
switched screens, so I can't see you guys. I can hear you though. So here, I'll play it.
That's widescreen. You can see it. All right, that's the fish tank. That is one cucumber plant.
Wait,
Those are
that
tomatoes,
was?
crack key.
Yeah.
That's a cucumber?
That's one cucumber plant, and it's
God,
only
that's
about a month old. Those are crack key tomatoes. Yeah, if you pause on each picture, I'll tell you what it is. All right, that's a side view of it. All right, the first big square tank, that's the fish tank. That cucumber plant that you saw in the other picture, that's what's
Yeah.
growing all over the place, all over the floor,
What is
all
this?
over the back wall. That's fish tank.
No kidding.
There's two more tanks behind it.
And the water
one
circulated through the tomatoes back here?
Yeah. Now the tomatoes, that's the third tank. What you see growing up the back screen across the top of both of those and across the floor, that's that one cucumber plant.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it gets bigger. That's one cucumber plant growing across the top of all three grow beds. The fish tank, the bed that it's in, the second tank, and it's growing up the back wall. It actually ripped the screen out of my lanai. I had to rescreen it. It grew up all across the roof. It grew all the way across the tables up to the back door of the house. One cucumber plant.
God, that's crazy.
That's the collards when I planted them after I pulled the cucumber out. You've got collard greens and celery in that first bed in the middle. And then off to the right, that's one tomato plant. And that tomato plant in there was, I don't know how many months old it was, but it got massive. Those are the collards and celery. All right, and those grow beds that you see where the collards and celery are starting to grow in that tomato plant, those tanks underneath it also have fish and water in it. So I had about a 750-gallon system. But that tomato plant that was inside that thing, if you look in between the collard greens, over behind the collard greens growing up to the fish tank, and out front, that's all that one tomato plant.
Good Lord.
That's one tomato plant growing over in between the collard greens and stuff. That's all tomato. That's one plant. That's one tomato plant. All of that is one tomato plant and collard greens.
Oh, nice. I want some.
They got way bigger.
So,
now you got to remember,
eat collard greens on any regular basis. How would you prepare them?
Collard greens, you cut them off the stems. You take them to the sink. You clean them, wash them really, really good. Then you rip them apart. You rip them. You never cut collard greens.
Right.
You rip them by hand. You tear them. That way it opens up the veins in the leaves.
Right.
Then you take a big pot, like a big stew pot.
Right.
You want to, what I do is I'll take bacon and I'll dice it up, and I'll saute the bacon in the bottom. Then I add onions, and then I add, I do quite a bit of bacon actually, probably about a whole pound of bacon, onions, and I add garlic in the bottom. And as soon as I start getting the aroma from the garlic, I fill the pot up with water. Then I shove as many collard greens, I shove as much collard greens as I can in there, and I fill it up with water, and I let it start to boil or simmer. And when it starts to cook, the collard greens cook down, so you can keep adding more and more and more, but you don't stir it ever. You let the seasonings cook up through the collard greens from the bottom, and then after that's done, you can stir them up, and it takes a couple hours. And then I put some hot pepper vinegar juice on it, and you just eat them. It's some good stuff.
So it's almost like sauteing spinach, but you're boiling it with different spices.
Yeah. The collard greens are awesome. That's the celery that I was growing.
Is that music too loud?
Now, those collard greens that are growing into the front and laying over it, that right there, the stems on those things are about 6-7 feet long. What you got to remember from like 14 or 15 pictures ago, the collard greens I planted in the back, right? They grew up, they laid down, and then they went down and they grew up again. They're in like this huge double S. So those stems from the very end all the way back to where it goes into the system is about 6.5, 7 feet long. And all this tomato on the ground below it, that's all part of that tomato to the right.
Were they cherry tomato?
No, those were beefsteaks. That's after I had to cut the collard greens out because they broke the system and I had to build a whole new system. All right, there's one of my white tilapia.
That's a good sized fish.
It's not bad. It's one of the blues, and that's a 15-inch cutting board, and it goes from end to end. And there's a little over an 8-inch fillet.
Oh, sorry, got away from me there. There we go.
All right. That's a little over 8 inches on that one fillet.
Okay, and then it says grow onions. Cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fun, you know. And that was like my first. That was my second. That was my first big system. Like I made a small system just to see if it worked, and it did. So then I made like an intermediate system out of a 55-gallon drum, and it worked. And I was like, screw it. I got some IBC totes, and I just started growing stuff, and it was awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to put my husband to work. He made that one. There's one. Well, he's the one that did that. He's the one that got the same time I was working on in-ground garden initially. He was like, well, I want to build an aquaponics system. And there's one out there, but it's just that one IBC tote that he cut and, you know, inverted or whatever for the clay, the grow beds on top and the fish are on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's just the one right now next to my garden out there. But there's another tote out there waiting. And then there's 3 55-gallon plastic drums right over there by the garage waiting for, I don't know, another project. So I'm like, give me like 3 grow beds and I can grow all kinds of stuff. Yeah, he pretty much leaves it up to me to put whatever in the bed. He's like, put whatever in there. He's just, you know, but he's the one that did the, what is it? I don't know. I don't know. He worked all that out. The bell siphon thing and all that. I mean,
yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, and it worked. It works. Great. The only thing is bugs. You can't. I can't put any kind of.
Right. Cold pressed neem oil.
Neem oil. Okay.
Yeah, it's got to be cold pressed. 100% cold pressed neem oil. That works really, really good. And then ladybugs. I mean, it's a challenge with the bugs, but I mean, you'll figure it out. It's really, I mean, it's kind of a pain in the ass, but like with the ants and keeping the aphids off, you just take and you put a ring around your entire system of Vaseline, and the ants won't cross it, so they won't farm the aphids.
I don't have a problem with ants up there, and I do get ladybugs just naturally. I see them all the time out there, but it's just like the little caterpillar. I don't know. There's so many bugs. I just pull them off and feed them to the fish when I see them.
Yeah,
you know,
my system when it was first growing, when I had my green beans in there, I don't think I had any pictures of those, but there was a lot of aphids and bugs on the stuff. I just took the entire plant and I pulled it up out of the system. I just grabbed the stem and pulled it out because you can in aquaponics because there's no dirt. You just pulled it out. And I went over to the fish tank and I submerged the entire plant in the fish tank and I let the fish eat all the bugs off the plant, and then I went over and replanted it.
Nice.
Damn.
No kidding.
Nice.
What a great way to do that.
Ghost, did the collards that big taste any different than the smaller ones? Yeah, they were awesome. Like I thought that the huge leaves may be a little bit rougher or tougher and taste different than the smaller leaves, but there really wasn't a flavor difference because those leaves, they went from being like itty bitty leaves to 3-foot leaves in about a week. I mean, so and they just kept growing and growing. I literally had to cut them out. Like it was crazy.
Right. If they grow fast, they're smaller and more tender. If it's a long growth, they're going to be tough and hardy.
Yeah, but they grow so fast, they never really had a chance to get tough. I mean, I'm still eating those collards right now. I've got over a case. I'm
still stuck with the fish.
Yeah, the fish are so good. It's the best fish I've ever eaten in my life.
I mean, the way you did that, that's something you get a metal building or like the greenhouse you had, anything like that, and you could make that happen quick.
Yeah. I mean, it was easy in Florida because, you know, but here I'm probably going to have to build a greenhouse for the fish tank to keep the fish warm, you know, during the winter. But, you know, in Florida, I didn't have that issue, which was awesome.
Right.
when you're growing food, you need air and you need crap. And doing the fish puts both of those in there.
Yeah, the fish
Oh, definitely the crap, the poo.
Rabbit poop is awesome, but fish, aquaponics, it's the shit. It's the way to go. The only reason rabbits to me are more economical is because the fish food's kind of expensive unless you can figure a way to supplement that with bugs, with the plant. And that's the reason why I love tilapia. Tilapia are omnivores; they'll eat anything. So I like those collard leaves. I would take 3 or 4 of those a day and throw it in the fish tank, and they would devour it like piranha. They eat anything.
And they eat each other, and they eat the bugs. Yeah.
They'll eat banana sausages.
Tomato plants, they won't eat tomato plants will kill them. They don't eat tomato leaves, but like any of your leafy greens, your collards, your lettuces, celery, things like that. Throw them in the fish tank; they'll tear it up, and it offsets the food cost.
You know what? You go to a pet store and goldfish are 10 for $1.
And dude, let me tell you something. Goldfish are the best ones to start with because those are some nasty little bastards. They shit like crazy. They're the quickest way to cycle your system. They shit like an amazing amount. So if you're not into it for the fish meat, start with goldfish. If you're into it with the fish, I would still say start with the goldfish just to cycle your system.
Will eat the goldfish.
And then put the tilapia in there and let them eat the goldfish.
Yep. It's all about making an ecosystem. That's how I explain all.
That's a good question, Samix. I did have one issue with the fish, and it was nitrate spike, and it causes called brown gill. I think it is brown gill disease. And the way that you treat it is all natural. I just added salt to the water. I know it sounds crazy. I put like 2 pounds of salt in that water, maybe more.
Wow.
And there's a chemical reaction between the salt and the nitrites and the nitrogen in the system, and they swap electrons and they neutralize the bad stuff for the fish, and it brought them back to life. It like saved them. But yeah, that was the only medical issue I had with them. I didn't have any kind of fungus or any of that because they stayed like really, really, really healthy because I kept the water super clean, man. With all those plants, the water was filtered like crazy. Because here's the thing, I didn't care if all the plants died. I just wanted to grow fish. So every single plant that I planted was a sacrificial plant, and the bastards would not die.
Right.
Bonus.
So you found a bonus plant.
Bonus. And I built an add-on to that system that wasn't in the video. Off to the end of that last tank, I ran out of a 4-inch PVC pipe, and I built a rail system, and it was a 3-layer. It was 1, 2, 3. I think I had 3 or 4 4-inch PVC pipes running back and forth, offset with holes in the top of net pots, and I was growing leaf lettuce, celery, Swiss chard, all kinds of stuff over in there, and they were massive. It was just extra filtration because I had so many fish.
What was the best producing item that you grew using the tilapia method?
The best producing. The leafy greens. Anything leafy greens are going to just explode. Any kind of lettuces, collards, even the celery did amazing.
Oh, with the fish waste?
Yeah. With the fruiting plants, they do good, but there's like a really tricky balance. I use my tomato plants in that system as filters and nothing more. I didn't care if I got one single tomato off of them. That's why in the beginning of the video, you saw the 5-gallon buckets with tomato plants on the side. They were completely disconnected from the system. They were hydroponic, cracky. That's where I got my tomatoes from. The tomatoes in my aquaponic system were just filters for the fish. But amazingly enough, once it balanced out, they started throwing off some crazy tomatoes. So it was free. It was a bonus.
That's crazy. That's just awesome, man.
Yankee Watchdog, you can order them, bro. You can order those things offline right now, and they will mail them to your house. And they're dirt cheap. Like, dirt cheap.
Socratic method. Bug dude.
I can't see the chat. I have no idea how to do that. Since I'm on
you scroll down, do you see comments?
Yeah.
Nikki? Well, it's on my phone, and I don't normally. Normally when we're canning out the little.
No, me too. I've been on the phone every now and again, and sometimes if you scroll just a little bit, it might say comments or chat, and it won't kick you off if you click on it.
If I hit the chat button, I can
Yeah.
see the.
Yeah, hit the chat button.
Okay.
And you should be able to see chat, but you won't see us.
Oh, well, I don't want to do that. No. Don't let me know.
Watchdog says, how did you acquire the tilapia? I ordered them online. There are countries, I mean, there are companies all over the country that sell live fish. And here's the cool part. Fish is one of the easiest animals to ship on the planet because all they do is they put these little itty bitty babies in a really thick plastic bag full of water, and they squirt in all that good air they need to breathe, and they tie it up and they put it in a box, and they're good for like 3 days in that box. And they just mail them to you.
That's how we got ours.
Yeah.
And they were this big. Like,
yeah.
You can barely see them.
And like the company I was getting them from, I think the first batch I got, I want to say I got like 20 or 25 tilapia is what I ordered and what I paid for. And like they shipped me, it was like I got like 35 or 36. I got like 10 extra because they always give you extra because they expect some to die. And one was dead in the bag. So I got like 9 extra fish.
Yeah.
So I basically got them for free.
Okay, but how big were they? I mean, what size?
You could barely see them. Like they're only like a couple days old.
Yeah, they're tiny.
They're called fry. Like you can see through them. They're transparent. You can see their eyes. Like you can completely.
Oh, really?
Like you could fit like 1,000 in the palm of your hand. Like they don't get smaller than that. It's like the day after they pop out of the egg, they send them to your house.
Okay.
But they grow really, really, really fast.
Yeah. Now you can order what they call fingerlings. I think that's what they call them, and they're like maybe an inch long, fingernail size. But yeah, but they cost way more. But like the baby ones, the fry, like they're legit. They're like 25 cents.
What's the biggest they'll get?
Massive. Like it depends how much you feed them. I mean, I don't know the world record size of a tilapia, but I would say
I think
probably
if you had a lot in your tank goes, it would limit the size, right? They'll adjust down.
What happens like with tilapia? Tilapia are very, very territorial. So you don't want to have a big tank and just have a few tilapia because they'll kill each other.
Oh.
If you have a big tank,
they're like beta.
If you pack it full of tilapia, it triggers this thing in their mind, and they go into a schooling mentality, and they school. So you can't have a big tank and just a couple. If you've got a big tank, fill it up.
Each other.
Oh, they'll eat they'll go straight beta on each other. They'll just rip each other apart. Yeah, if they have a lot of space. But if you cram them in there, they school, and they'll just develop into a school. Here's the coolest part about them. The ones I got were all the same age, right? But you're gonna have bullies in the group. And you're going to have ones that get more food than the other ones. And so they get bigger faster. So say if you've got 10 fish in the tank and they were all the same age 10 months ago, at the end of like 10 months, 2 of those fish are just massive. And then the rest are kind of smaller, but they're staggered in size. So you just take out the biggest, and then you'll get a couple, 2 or 3 more that'll take their place, and they get fat really, really quick. So it's like every 2 weeks, you got like 3 fat fish. And you just cycle through them. I mean, it's like, they self-rotate. You know how we rotate our stock? These guys rotate themselves.
But
like
is that just natural selection from the size of the tub?
Yeah. They like rotate themselves. It was like the coolest. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done was the aquaponics because it was a massive learning process. It took a lot of time. I'm out there testing the water 2 or 3 times a day, getting all scientific with it. And then I figured out, I'm like, bro, it's going to go or it's not. So just let's roll with it. I tested the water. There was things I had to do, things I had to add, this, that, and the other. And once I saw how resilient the fish were, and once I saw how easy it was for the plants to grow, because you legit do you know how hard it is to kill a tomato plant? It's like really hard to kill a tomato plant. Those bastards are pretty tough. I got one outside that will not die. I stopped feeding it over 2 months ago, and it just started growing green again. It's the one tomato plant that's been in all my videos that I've killed 4 times. It's the greenest. It's greener now than it ever was, and it's throwing out new flowers. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm saving seeds.
It's adjusting. It found the new water and nutrient source.
It's going to be a strong
It's in the crab heap. I haven't put any water in the bucket. I haven't put any nutrients in the bucket in over 2 months. And it's going ape shit. The two beside it died. I don't know what
plant
happened.
more from that one. You get super tomatoes.
I saved the seeds. Yeah, I'm definitely planting seeds from that one. But yeah, so it's a learning process, like with the aquaponics. Look, you're going to kill some fish. It is what it is. You're going to kill some fish. Just go ahead and accept that. But I mean, it's a lot easier than people make it out to be. It's fun. Building the system is fun because there is no blueprint or perfect plan how to build your system. Build it however the hell you want to build it. As long as you got water flowing and it ain't leaking, and you got aeration, you're good. As long as your filtration is right, as long as and you can put as many external filters on there as you want.
Well, now you guys got me thinking. I'm going to have to start looking at maybe expanding that error garden, get something bigger. Because I can also make it look nice so you don't have this monstrosity inside the house.
There's an Australian guy on YouTube. It's called Rob Bob's Aquaponics.
Yeah.
Watch his videos. He's awesome. It's called Rob Bob's Aquaponic Garden and something. If you just type in Rob Bob's, it'll pop up. If you just type in aquaponics, he's gonna pop up. You can't miss him. He's Australian and he's got like a 2-foot beard. I mean, it's like massive.
That's the guy that Jeremy watched numerous videos on, and he said, "I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna build a system." He watches that guy all the time.
That's why I did my system. That's what I did mine, was watching that video, his videos.
Yeah.
Real simple. I mean, you got to be able to convert, from the metric system to our system when he's talking about the sizes of the pipes and stuff like that. But
it's and that's hard. Easy enough.
Yeah. But yeah, he's got some really cool videos. Everything you need to know, you can learn watching his shows. And once you watch some of his, YouTube's gonna throw up some more aquaponic videos and some more aquaponic people, and you can learn everything you need in a few short weeks. Actually, a few short days if you want to crunch. And you'll be like, I'm gonna build one. Like when I did my first system, I started with a 55-gallon drum. I had some goldfish, and I piped the water from the drum to 5-gallon buckets with net pots and tomato plants, and they blew up. And I'm like, it works. So I made a big system, and it worked just fine.
And you use goldfish as your poop source?
I started with goldfish because they were dirt cheap, and
and if they died, you can get more.
It would work. I'm like, is fish shit gonna grow me tomatoes? I'm gonna find out. And I did the fish poop, and the plants just blew up. I'm like, wow. Okay, cool. So then I got some tilapia. Goldfish got eaten, and I started growing.
I have some people in my family are germaphobes. I should invite them over, make some tomatoes like that, and go like, hey, by the way, those tomatoes were created with poo, and just wait for the reaction, just for the glee of it.
Yep. And here's the thing: it's not actually the fish poo; it's just the ammonia.
Yeah.
And most of it, a majority of it, comes from their gills, not from the gills. Actually, the poop is the one issue why you need the good filtration, because once it breaks down the system and the bacteria busts it up and it converts the ammonia to the nitrates and nitrites, then you're good. But that's it. Rob Bob's Aquaponics and Backyard Farm.
Cool.
And dude, he grows everything.
Thanks, Stuart.
He's growing papaya trees in his system. I mean, he's done potatoes. He's done carrots. He does all the stuff they say you can't do. He tries it.
Cool. Well, gang, I got an early wake up, but I learn a bunch every time I hang out with you guys. You know that.
Well, man, we love having you. And Roots just dropped a link in the chat too.
Oh, awesome.
For Rob Bob's Aquaponics. There's this channel.
So I may be out at the lease right after Thanksgiving. I might wind up I get paid to do this. This just blows my mind. But anyway, I'm going to be out there. So I'll try and get you guys some pictures of those fat javelinas out here.
Cool.
I had a javelina put one of the guys up a mesquite tree, which was not pretty because mesquite doesn't support a man.
No.
But,
where are you located?
West Texas.
Okay.
The company lease is down toward outside of God, I just blanked out. Fort Stockton, thereabouts in the Mesas. It's real pretty, but Yeah, those pigs catch in the open. There's no trees, you know. You're
No,
improvising
no.
somewhere to go,
Yeah.
and or you open your feeder and get a face full of tarantula. That wasn't cool, but
Oh, that's awesome. It's
yeah,
funny. I had a pet javelina as a kid, and I had a pet tarantula.
a pet
Okay.
javelina.
I did. His name
They
was
tell me
Arnold.
they were smart.
They are. We got my uncle actually shot the javelina, and then after he shot it, he realized it had babies, and he chased one down. And when he brought it home, he brought it to our house. I could chase one down, and it was no joke. It was about
Not that big.
3 inches tall. It was 3 inches by like 6 inches. It was little bitty, and he had it in a cardboard box. And I'm talking mean little bastard. You'd open that box and stick your hand down there, and it was like, but we built a pen for it and fed it bread. You put bread and milk and soak the bread and the milk in a little bowl and put it out there, and it just went to town. And then it made friends. We had lots of animals growing up. Then it made friends with the turkey, and it followed the turkey around in the pasture or whatever. Yeah, so from this big, I tamed it. It grew up. I was probably 11 or 12 when we got it. And I named him Arnold, and I got a little leash, like a harness for it, and I would walk him around. Yeah, walk him around on the leash, and
Lord,
I'd go there and pet him, and he would lay in my lap. It was so cute until he got older, and then
he had to get cut loose.
Yeah, well, then he tried to bite all. I mean, he actually bit my cousin. It's a wild animal. He was thinking when he was young, but he chased me down one night, and I had to jump the back fence and go through the woods to get home because he was after me. They're no joke, so we had to kind of get rid of that. But yeah,
that would definitely sour me on the pig.
I mean, he was cool for a while. And the tarantula was awesome too. His name was Mr. Bill. He was about black and orange ones. I used to sit him on my shoulder, and he would just hang out with me. It's a Texas thing. We got critters.
Oh, my daughter had a Burmese python.
Pythons are cool. Hutch thinks he has critters. Tell him to come to Texas. It's funny.
But I'll get you guys some pictures, and once we're out there, if I see anything cool other than rocks and cactus. But
right.
Hey,
thank you so much for the tips on the grow stuff, guys.
Bro, really, man. I ask me anything you want to know. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it for you.
Oh no, I'll definitely be bugging you guys with questions. I think that would definitely be the really cool project to do. I'm just worried about the next reload. I might have to go with the smaller commercial things for now and kind of play with the idea until I know this is the house, and then I'll start.
Right. Yeah, because I moved from Florida here to Carolina, and I couldn't bring my aquaponics system with me. I could have, like the videos that you saw. I mean, it was still operational when I left, and this is no bullshit. I got $25,000 above the asking price on my house just because of the aquaponics system, because I put it in my ad on Zillow, and I had the photographer came out and videoed it. And there were 3 families that got into a bidding war on my house, and it went for $25,000 above my asking price just because of the fish and the vegetables growing.
That's a huge self-sufficiency thing, man.
Yeah,
I mean, you could live off grid for months like that.
Oh, and that was in the ad when I sold the house about the self-sufficiency. But I got 25 grand over my asking price, and I only had maybe $500 in the entire system.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Because the totes I got for $100 a piece. I got the totes for $100 a piece. The PVC was dirt cheap. I mean, well, no, I say maybe I had $800 in the system.
Yeah. That's still
around 800. I got 25 grand. 25 grand versus 800.
That's a heck of a return on investment, man.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. That tote the 2 totes that we bought, we only used one of them, and we have another one sitting over there. It was like $75 each for a tote.
I mean, I literally, I did the ad for the house. I put it on Zillow it hit Zillow at 8 p.m. like on a Tuesday. At 8:45, I already had like 75 views. Within an hour, I had over 100 people have watched it. Like 30 people had saved it. And within that hour, my realtor had already called me and we had 3 appointments for the next day. I ended up showing it 12 times. I sold it in a day, like one day. It went from being on the market to like, they never put a sign in the yard. It didn't get that far. I posted the ad, everybody showed up. There was a bidding war way over what I asked for. I sold the house in a day.
Nice.
Those little
that's crazy.
Yeah, and it was all because of that system in the backyard. I mean, they walked outside and saw the freaking food, fish. I'm like walking over there grabbing, pieces of basil because I had a massive basil plant in there and I had, peppermint stuff. I'm like, here, eat it. And I mean, fresh lettuce. Here, eat it. I mean, they're eating food while we're selling the house. They're eating food from the garden they're fixing to buy. And I'm like, oh, by the way, there's like about 60 tilapia in here. About 15 of them are ready to be eaten right now. And then I went inside and I pulled out the freezer and I showed them the fillets. And I'm like, and this is what I filleted, last week. And the guy that bought the house, him and his wife and kids, I actually, he's like, man, can you show me how to fillet? I'm like, sure. So he came over the week before we closed on the house and I pulled the fish out and showed him how to fillet it and all that good stuff.
You did the ghost tutorial on the sold house.
Yeah. It was a pretty cool
crazy.
deal.
I never, that's another aspect is if you do that to a property, in a lot of cases, you may add value if you do it right.
Yeah.
You're a case in point.
It was value over and above the actual house. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, how your property value plays into what your neighborhood looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So it was a really cool, it's not, I won't say experiment, but I'm definitely going to build another one. I know that for a fact, just simply because it's so easy to do.
Rock and roll.
Cool. Well, bueno, guys. You guys have a great evening.
And, I have to go too and start settling the child. Roman.
Yeah, me too. It's past my dinner time. I got to go get something to eat. We've been going for 3.5 hours.
Well, you guys be safe.
All right, Roman. We'll talk to you later.
Be good.
Nikki, good night.
Good night.
Good night, y'all.
Good night. Good night, everybody in the chat. Good night, everybody on the panel that's up here now. Good night to everybody that was up earlier and left. I do appreciate it. Especially a big thanks to all the mods, and all the comments in the chat. I hope I got everybody's questions. You guys know sometimes I get tunnel vision and I just focus on talking and I forget to look in the chat. And if I missed you, I do apologize. Other than that, I am going to get off here and go fix me something to eat. You guys have an awesome night. Oh yeah, Yankee. I will definitely make a video of the entire build on the aquaponics system for sure. Definitely. I will talk to you guys later. Y'all have a good one.